I've got a bit of an introduction for you, so pay attention and follow me. WikiLeaks, Victoria's Secrets, the quote-unquote unintelligent woman with sufficient influence at the corridors of power to secure a solid deputy ministerial job without sweat, is unable to influence her sacking. She's got a brilliant lecture on how to build alliances in government, make international connections to protect one in power, but doesn't seem to have been successful at doing same for herself, though she got international attention in 24 hours. Her ambition and grand plan to make $1 million? Well, she's out, but does the taxpayer not deserve to know how much she has made before our police burnt more fuel in her name? She speaks about likely corruption of Supreme Court justices in the just-ended election petition. Idle gossip of empty rumor or CJ must investigate. Your kitchen may be hot, but at the Flagstaff House has been molten fiery corruption heat. One of the president's three wise men, Alban Bagbin, tells him he is naked and the heat will consume him if he keeps men like Stan Dogbe in his kitchen. The young man says Bagbin is a liar and an enemy within. Foreign Affairs Minister Hannah Tete tells Bagbin to shut up and focus on priority projects. Deputy Information Minister Felix Kwachiofosu adds that Bagbin can no longer remain in government. And just when Information Minister Hammah Yarega and NDC General Secretary Johnson Esiedun Ketia assured of an amicable settlement of what may be a genuine concern, the president tells those who want him out of the kitchen to wait for 2016. What at all is going on? Our focus will be on the bigger and serious governance and legal issues arising from these developments. We may spare time on the first anniversary of the Melcombe disaster and market fire security reports. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini, and you're welcome on board. We'll be right back after this break.
The biggest.
Tony Peter has been the friends of the Rollinses, being a friend to the president, John, now, and his wife. And not even before even the verdict happened, and that was with the justice and all that. You don't know the role she has played, even for us to win the court case. They want to use your own intelligence to overthrow her. Yeah. You know, UNITA is an institution that me, you, and Senna, it is politics that has given us name. We still don't even have proper root yet. Now I'm saying, right here, no. Who are the strong alliances you have? Or even Tony and John Muhammad, you have got an alliance, they are allies. I'm saying, you cannot boast of 100,000 Ghana cedi in your account or dollars. You are there fighting. You listen on your appointment to came last minute at Parliament. You were crying like a baby. Now I'm saying, you won an MP, and I didn't win an MP. I say, yes. Right here, did right here win? Me, did I win my seat? Did I win my seat? My appointment was solid, way back. So what does it tell you? That even in terms of influence, I'm more influence than you and Rahel. Tony Peter controls 3 ministries. On Rahel, no name answer. I even have more access than she has. So most of that she used me together. Me, I told Rahel, I said, I'm going to be and I made the pot as if I make you $1 million, not me. If you have money, then you can control people. People can listen to you. It's crazy.
The biggest problem in our country today is corruption. You talked about the fact that we need leadership, and in this case, political leadership to deal with it. Do you think we have it today to be able to deal with corruption in this country?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen the leadership to deal with corruption?
No. I haven't seen it.
Why do you say that?
Well, we've all heard of a lot of allegations in the country. We've heard of the steps that have been taken, which I must say are not the right steps. They're setting up of committees to investigate and that kind of thing. That is not the right step. From my submissions, you will see that I'm relying more on the institutions that we have established and giving the mandate to investigate cases and to carry out the necessary processes, either to prosecute them or otherwise. We have seen that. That is not what is happening. And so people are somehow encouraged to do what they are doing. When we go for politics and we are trying to mobilize resources and you have people coming with huge amounts for candidates to go and campaign, and you are not asking questions, you are encouraging them to do what they are doing. Even when after elections, appointments are being made and you are seeing strange faces and strange names, and the only evidence you get is that they donated this amount this day. What are you encouraging? We know genuine businessmen don't spend money that way.
Recently, a few of my comrades have questioned my ability to fight corruption. I dare say they don't know me well. For those who disagree with me and are anxious to see my back, not to worry, 2016 is not too far away. I'll urge them to be patient. In this difficult job, the least one expects is comradeship and solidarity.
Tony Peter has been the friends of the Rawlinses, being a friend to the president, John, now and his wife. I learned even before even the verdict tribunal, and that was with the justice and all that. You don't know the role she has played, even for us to win the court case. They want to use your own intelligence to overthrow her. Yeah, but UNITA is an institution that me, you, and Senna. It is politics that has given us name. We still don't even have proper root yet. Now I'm saying, right or no? Who are the strong alliances you have? Or even John Litton and John Hammah, they have got an alliance, they are allies. Now I'm saying, you cannot boast of 100,000 Ghana cedi in your account or dollars. You are there fighting. You listen on your appointment, you came last minute at Parliament. You were crying like a baby. Now I'm saying, you won an MP, and I didn't win an MP. I say, yes. Right here, did right here win? Me, did I win my seat? Did I win my seat? My appointment was solid, way back. So what does it tell you? That even in terms of influence, I'm more influence than you and Rahel. The Tonita controls 3 ministries. On Rahel, no even answer. I even have more access than she has. So most of that she used me to get there. Me, I told Rahel, I said, who you did it? And I made the support as a bar. They make you $1 million, not me. If you have money, then you can control people. People can listen to you. It's crazy.
The biggest problem in our country today is corruption. You talked about the fact that we need leadership, and in this case, political leadership to deal with it. Do you think we have it today to be able to deal with corruption in this country?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen the leadership to deal with corruption?
No. I haven't seen it.
Why do you say that?
Well, we've all heard of a lot of allegations in the country. We've heard of the steps that have been taken, which I must say are not the right steps. They're setting up of committees to investigate and that kind of thing. That is not the right step. From my submissions, you will see that I'm relying more on the institutions that we have established and giving the mandate to investigate cases and to carry out the necessary processes, either to prosecute them or otherwise. We have seen that. That is not what is happening. And so people are somehow encouraged to do what they are doing. When we go for politics and we are trying to mobilize resources and you have people coming with huge amounts for candidates to go and campaign, and you are not asking questions, you are encouraging them to do what they are doing. Even when after elections, appointments are being made and you are seeing strange faces and strange names, and the only evidence you get is that they donated this amount this day. What are you encouraging? We know genuine businessmen don't spend money that way.
Recently, a few of my comrades have questioned my ability to fight corruption. I dare say they don't know me well. For those who disagree with me and are anxious to see my back, not to worry. 2016 is not too far away. I'll urge them to be patient. In this difficult job, the least one expects is comradeship and solidarity.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. And on this show, we put Ghana first. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini, and this show is brought to you by the kind sponsorship of MTN. Everywhere you go, Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. Lipton Tea, inspiration flowing from nature. Valex Lease Equipment, that's your affordable document management solutions company. And Errata Motors, that's where you get the best and the cheapest in the vehicle that you want. And of course, as you know, I'm clothed by Latida. Thank you very much for keeping your dials here. If you're listening to us in Kumasi, this is Love 99.5 FM. If you're listening, you can also listen to us elsewhere, all over the country indeed. And if you are watching us in the UK or elsewhere in Europe, this is your ABN TV, Sky Channel 290. You're listening and also watching via the internet, myjoyonline.com and multitvworld/streams. Thank you very much indeed. And your messages are welcome. 1422 1422. That is the text line, 1422. And you can also send your messages, questions also to newsfile@myjoyonline.com. You can post them on our Facebook wall as well. Thank you very much indeed. And my guests are seated right now. We're left with only one to come in, join us shortly. And like I told you, we're looking at the bigger issues coming out of the stories that have played on the headlines of the front pages of our minds in the course of the couple of weeks. We're talking about secret tapes, breach, or the unlawful invasion of people's privacy. We'll look at that vis-a-vis the public interests. When is it lawful and when is it not? The appointment of ministers, how is it done? Is due diligence done? Is it done based on some lobbying, some influence that some people have within the presidency? What role do first ladies play in all of these? We're talking because of the stories that are coming up. Again, are there governance issues and development issues about, the bad blood between ministers and their deputies, or ministers and ministers, which is inhibiting the development, the cooperation that they require to work with, and which is inhibiting the development that they need to bring to bear to all of us, for which we pay them anyway. And again, is the president really accessible? And Gbagwin spoke about that. We're told that issue will be looked into. The president gave a good reply. His officers say that's a very good and prompt reply. Well, there are others who have other issues about that. Did Victoria Hammah confirm the inaccessibility claim to the president, since some of them have to go to the president's home and wait for 30 minutes, depend on people who have access and influence to help them to get to have audience? But what is the minister's job at all, getting to the president's house and seeking audience with the wife? What's it got to do? Are they supposed to be reporting to the president's wife? All right. Very serious matters actually coming up. And corruption fight. How is President John Mahama winning that fight? That is also very, very important. And maybe very finally, do we and should we look at in the appointment, should we be looking at people who are already institutions, like Victoria Hammah says, Nana Oyelitha, an institution. She was Oye before she got to into this business. Is that the kind of people we should be looking for, or people who can work their way into the hearts of the wives of the presidents? My guest, Abdul Malik Kweku Bako Jr. It was my intention not to make him the first on my list of the people to introduce today. I'll keep to that as far as my script is concerned. So, first, Mrs. Esla Ekofo. She, Esla Owusu Ekofo. Ekofo. Thank you very much. Well, she is the MP for Ablekuma West constituency, and she's a lawyer. I'm sure you have known her and her work within the rights and gender advocacy business in this country. Good morning.
Good morning.
And sounds good to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure. It's been a while.
Great, great, great. Now, let me go to Abdul Malik Kwekubaku Jr. Okay, we have another lady who will join us shortly. Abdul Malik Kwekubaku Jr. is the editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. He's a regular panelist. Did you send Anas to bag Victoria Hammah and bust her?
No, not at all. And indeed, Anas is out of the jurisdiction, even though his physical absence would not mean he couldn't have done it. Okay. But in this case, no.
Wherever he is he there as Anas or as somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay, very interesting. So be careful. Be careful who you talk to on the phone. You could be talking to Anas. Now, Abraham Amaliba, I call him AB. He is a lawyer and he is with the NDC legal team. Good morning and welcome, AB.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, this is where we start. And before, let me tell you about Erata Motors. If you're looking for a new and slightly used car, certainly you should try Erata Motors, because Erata Motors has the best in cars and the cheapest in prices, and it's going to give you a very good deal. Are you looking for a Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, Infiniti, Range Rover, whatever, just name it? Go to Erata Motors and you will get the best deals. They are located at the Lagos Avenue opposite Body Talk near GT Bank, East Legon. Or you can call them 0244 445 268 or 0277 486 800 and get the best vehicle deals in town. Erata Motors, the best vehicles are the best prices. Right. I guess it's just okay to start with you, Abi. You've listened to Victoria Hammah. I'm sure you've listened to the tape. Well, at this point, we may not be saying alleged tape having her voice, or should we be saying so? She's not come to deny it. She's also not come to admit it, but we've heard the brother suggest that, it is some ploy within the party, people who hate her, who decided to do this against her. We also know that she reported her driver to the police, and the driver was arrested. And what was the complaint she took to the police? That the driver secretly recorded her. So we are not talking about an alleged tape. And also the public, presumption is that, general presumption is that because government has dismissed her, it just confirms that that is her on The Voice. How did you feel when you first heard it?
When I heard it, I felt that this must be the work of an overzealous young lady, a naive young lady who wanted to create an impression on her innocent listener of her connections in government and try to bloat her image. That's what I saw.
Are you serious when you say naive? Because when I listen to that tape, she doesn't sound like naive. She sounds like someone who is politically astute, no matter how young. She talks about building alliances. She talks about not fighting people you cannot fight.
I say naive because, but you see, it is important to situate this in a certain context. And the context is this. This was a private conversation.
Right.
Now, in our private conversations, all of us engage in it. In our private conversations, we say all manner of things. We even talk about people. We castigate. We may even praise others. Because it is not intended to be consumed by the public. So you think that you are insulated. And so you go full haul and say all manner of things. But if given the opportunity in public to say those things, you wouldn't. So we need to draw the line.
So the best policy to keep your integrity is that the things you cannot defend in public, don't speak about them in private.
Probably so. But you also would want to understand that in your private conversations, you have some element of confidentiality you think it is between you and the person listening. So you could go that full haul, hoping that that message will not go out for public consumption. Now, but it is unfortunate on her part that this has come out into the public, so we are now discussing it. First and foremost, like I indicated, it is clearly a case of a lady, a young, naive lady, who wanted to show how connected she was in government. Because look, if she were that connected, she should have been able to prevent her dismissal. Now, she was communicating to also an innocent person, probably so. And so she wanted to bloat her ego or her image. Now, let me look at some of the things she said in her conversation.
Right.
First, she indicated that the Tony Lita controls 3 ministries. You and I know that even controlling one ministry, you need your whole self. You need full attention to control one ministry.
You said you, and then you say you and I know. I'm not sure I know.
You and I know.
I'm not sure I know because in the
common
game
knowledge
of politics,
it is common
we
knowledge.
have come to understand that there are people who matter and who are able to, cause a whole lot of things to happen within government.
And her statement is that Tony Lita controls 3 ministries. And
Right.
I'm saying that based on this statement, look at it on this face value. It means that you need to have your full attention on one ministry. How can you then have attention on the other 2 ministries? That is a joke for me. You don't need that. You cannot have a situation.
It's not about how you interpret the control.
Well, and I have interpreted the control to mean somebody who has hands or who has hands-on all the 3 ministries. With that, I'm thinking that it is going to be difficult for one person to have control over 3 ministries. She talks about Nana Oyelita's influence. Since yesterday, I have been making my checks about Nana Oyelita. First and foremost, Nana Oye does not know the judges. When I say does not know the judges, it's not like does not know them on television, but she's not connected to them. Because, in the legal profession, monkeys move by sizes. In the legal profession, my checks reveal that Nana Oyelita's mates would either be in the High Court or at best, Court of Appeal. So that connection between Nana Oyelita and the judges, I find it difficult. Now, if her claim were right, how come the 4 judges ruled against the NDC? Because her influence should have been such that it would have been overwhelming to be able to secure a landslide victory for the NDC. But you had 4 judges, as it were, voting against the NDC. So that, for me, is also another joke. Then she talks about the fact that the Nana Oyelita, and so when you listen to the conversation, it's like she tried to hype the importance of the leaders. She tried to make it look like the leaders.
But she says that Nana Oyelita was made before she got into politics. Don't you know that? You're saying she's trying to hype. Is she not speaking to facts?
I'm even saying, you've even reminded me, the word is overhype the importance and the connection of the leaders in the government. Because she says that Nana Oyelita influenced the decision. She says that Nana Oyelita is already self-made.
This is supposed to be just your brief comment. Yes. You have just a minute.
Yes. So when you look at her statement, I would say that it was a private conversation. And in our private, even on this program, sometimes when we are off, we engage in private conversation. We don't intend that it should be public. Indeed, I have sat in a program where after the program, there was a break. A panelist made a comment. Now, when it was the turn of another panelist, and he was going to refer to those comments made off air, because it was not on telly, the one who made those private comments was saying that, don't say it, don't say it. So we are not all proud. So
we should simply ignore her?
We should simply ignore her.
She was engaged in idle gossip?
That is it.
Okay, empty. Ursula, what do you say? Preliminary, 5 minutes. Let's see how you analyze what has come, up, and then we'll get into the detail as to the other areas bordering on governance and security and intention to steal, as people say.
Thank you. And let me say good morning to your viewers and listeners. It's a pleasure to be back on Newsfile. What do we make of the revelations in the leaked tape involving Victoria Hammah? I think we can't just dismiss them offhand as idle gossip, as my colleague Amaliba would want us to. And I would use some examples in other jurisdictions and the way they've been treated to illustrate that point. Very, very recent, Snowden, and the revelations that have come out of his leaks, should I put it that way. Angela Merkel has taken it seriously enough to call her counterpart in the US to ask why he's been listening in on her conversations. And that information came from the Snowden affair.
Right.
We also know back in history, Watergate, it led to the resignation of Richard Nixon, because despite the manner in which the information came into the public domain, the import of what was discussed was so important, was so critical, that it occasioned inquiry, which led to some substantiation of the allegations and information being put out there. So I would urge, well, it's in the government's interest to veer us in the direction of dismissing it as idle gossip. But it is in the nation's interest to interrogate the matters that have been put out and find out whether there is some substance in them or not, instead of merely wishing it away and saying it is idle gossip. And we should also be more mindful. Those are the preliminary comments I'll make on that. I have a lot more to say about the details of what she said. We should also be more mindful about how we protect private conversations, communications. We have taken pride in our ability to intercept even cabinet documents and make whole news items out of it, and we think it is okay. That's a journalist doing his work, and that's not a snide attack on him.
When dry bones are mentioned, all of this become uneasy.
On this moment, let me just take this opportunity to now let you know that we're going to have Joyce Bauer, who is Deputy Transport Minister, to join us. But before she does so, George Wayo, who is a lawyer and political analyst, will be in her seat for a while. George, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Samson, and good morning to the cherished viewers.
Great. Okay, Esla, continue.
Yes, and we've had lots and lots of tapes out there in the public domain, and no action has been taken about them. So my question, which I want to throw out there for us to consider, is why this instant action by government on this particular matter? Is it because the allegations made or the information provided cuts too close to home? So it's an attempt to distance government quickly from this lady? Is there a gender angle in there? I know people will say, oh, Esla. But yes, I think it's important that we look at that issue as well. Why this near instantaneous reaction when there have been tapes out there, including even more, in my opinion, serious ones about how party functionaries are able to influence the security apparatus and all that, and that's gone unanswered. It's just been wished away. They are watching and tape.
Some will say that you sound like seeking to defend her, but you should rather be happy that she will not give you any contest in 2016 because her political career is gone.
No. I mean, in discussing matters of this nature, you need to exhibit some maturity. It would have been tempting to gloat, but to what end? It's not important. And I am saddened that for a promising political career of a young lady may have been cut short. And it's not about me. It's about the larger gender agenda.
Okay.
What should we do to promote, and I think to promote more women in politics? And I think what we can do, just to provide one small prescription before we move on, is to provide a bit more mentoring and training before we throw them to the wolves.
Thank you very much.
But the government has not given reasons for her dismissal.
Don't worry.
That's clear.
Don't worry.
They need not.
So for us not to say that, why did the government
Don't worry.
quickly react?
I want to take 2 minutes from
The
George.
coincidence is
Then
too
I'll come to Abdul Malik. What do you say?
striking.
Do you subscribe to what Amaliba says that, look, let's dismiss this. This is unimportant. Let's just take it as idle gossip and move on. We shouldn't make too much out of what she spoke about.
Thank you very much, Samson. Once again, good morning to Ghanaians and the world listening to Joy FM. Samson, I think that I would want to toe that tangent, not because he's coming from the government side, but I think that if we listen to the tape very well, clearly, most of the things there, you hear this woman trying to just step up her game. For instance, on this issue of Miss Oye, if you look at Mrs. Oye, Mrs. Oye later, if you look at it, it becomes that I learned. And sometimes you and I know you were a lawyer. I mean, you can't go to any court before any judge and say, my lord, I learned the defendant. No, it's not acceptable. And I think Osei is counsel. Osei understands that very well if we have to devoid it out of politics. On that particular disposition, the woman said, I learned. It tells you that she doesn't even have a clue. She doesn't even know whether it is true, whether or not Mrs. Letta went to see anybody. Because you are closer to government. So if Mrs. Letta has gone to see judges, you should know. And if you are speaking to your confidant, your friend, whereby you are expressing issues about Rahel and all that, you were very open. Why wouldn't you be very open on that tangent, on that particular disposition that, guy, you know that Mrs. Letta went in. She did well. But you said, I learned. So it would be very, very surprising to see people toe the tangent that let's hold on to such a statement when somebody is trying to indicate issues that are even speculations. Issues that
People should not hold on. The government should hold on, right?
No, Samson. The issue is that if you look at the person who made a statement,
she's been dismissed.
Yes, the simple reason, and I've heard a lot of people talk about that, you cannot seek to be part of a government and your line of communication. Samson, the moment you become a public officer, you are not an individual person.
You don't dismiss people for peddling idle gossip.
Samson, the moment you become a public officer, like Honorable Amaliba said, Council said.
I'm not honorable.
Sorry.
You earn it. You work very hard.
Okay, because Honorable Osei is here, I will draw that from Amaliba. Yes, but the people voted for you. Thank you for that correction. Like Lawyer Amaliba is saying, the government has not made any position. Something you and I know. They just dismissed her, or they have just relieved her of her post. And like we know,
within 24 hours after the leak.
The point is that,
look, the president. Let's face the people of this country and be frank. The president reserves the right not to tell anybody why I am sacking you.
Absolutely.
But can you look the people of Ghana in the eye and say she was dismissed not because of the leak of the tape?
Okay, Samson, what if I also say that she was dismissed because if she's listening, is going to forgive me? She talks too much about issues. So this was just a tape that has indicated that our honorable Deputy Honorable Minister talks too much about so many things. You want to make $1 million. You can make it legally, but keep it in your head and make it illegally. And when after making $1 million, you've made it legally, you've worked for it. If I say legal, what I mean is that work for it.
Okay.
Work for it. We are lawyers. When we go into cases, we get 10%.
She's a deputy minister.
No, Osei, what I'm trying to say is that, so does it mean that she cannot make legal money? That she cannot work for it? She cannot have gifts.
Any other job in addition to being a deputy minister?
What about gifts? What about gifts? You and I know gifts.
Okay,
what about gifts?
Don't worry. I gave you some 2 minutes. You've spoken for about 4 minutes. Just hold on for me. Now, Abdul Malik,
of course.
I want to hear your preliminary comments also. But you see, and trying to play the devil's advocate, I ask myself, for example, that bit about making money. You don't hear her actually say that until I make $1 million, I will not exit politics. And this is what I wrote from what she said. This is what I transcribed. Me, I told Rahel, say, muye dede, muye gidigidi. Na medie, mete politics ase pa. Osei, Say ma make it $1 million. $1 million. Me make it $1 million. Me make it $1 million. Na me koko. If I have money, then you can control people. If you have money, then you can control people. Me make it $1 million, sir. Na me koko. Did she say that she will make $1 million before she leaves politics? Could it not be said to be, a figure of speech to sort of say, I want to have importance before I can attack somebody else in the field?
Well. This is a tough act. But the little I've heard, I think the mindset was clear that she would love to make $1 million so as to be able to control people. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the understanding, the appreciation I made of what she said. And she's a deputy minister of state. She's not a business tycoon. And even if you want to do business, I believe the Constitution, there is this exemptions provision with an explicit permission of the Speaker. Yeah. So, and even that we can then be able to assess what kind of revenue or income you will be making. And I wonder what kind of business you'll be doing that could give you $1 million within, of course, we don't know the time frame.
That applies to MPs. Does it also apply to...
Yes. I'm not sure. You are the lawyer.
Okay,
you can.
right.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not aware. That's why I'm asking.
We can check. I had the Constitution about having it. Yeah, he can do that check for us. So clearly, it's not... you cannot excuse that. Okay? I really don't know who she was speaking to, apart from the driver that I've been told was there and might have recorded it. There was another female voice that I've heard. And so you don't know the setting. But whatever it is, the status, she is a deputy minister of state. And we all know the perception out there that there are some people who use politics as a shortcut to growing or creating wealth for themselves. So when you make such statements, the tendency is for people to assume that you are thinking or about to commit some corrupt practice. You can't be in politics, look at your level of incomes, all the things put together, and make $1 million. Not even 10 years, you can't, based on our scale, unless you do something unconventional. So to be honest with you, it's inexcusable. It's unfortunate. She was speaking in private, not thinking it will come public. But now that it's public, we're entitled to interrogate it and assess the thing. And so, to be honest with you, I'm not about... I like her. I've met her only once in my life. And I thought I liked her. She quite pleasant, good body language and everything. So I took to her. And I feel sorry for her.
Well endowed.
In that conversation, does she
well,
sound...
I didn't see that one.
Does she sound unintelligent as she claims they are perceived?
No, I don't think she's politically mature or experienced. She didn't say she's unintelligent. She said the people think they are unintelligent. Let's draw that distinction. Yes. But I don't think she's politically mature or experienced. And that is the result of what we are having. Let's be frank about that. But let me deal with it the way I want to.
Okay.
It's the law of karma. Some element of poetic justice in all this thing, unfolding drama. We've dealt with too many tapes. The Rollins tape, which created chaos for your station. We've had the Seku tape. We have the All Die Be Die tape. We've had the Cabo tape. We have the Samia Uku tape. We've had the Baba Yabua Tinjan tape. We've had the Bokwansa tape. We have the Rollins Yana tape. So many tapes.
You're about
Baba
to mention Baba
Jamal
Jamal.
And we've played... Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes, I'm not judging the contents as such. I'm only making the point.
Tips, yeah.
So far, we've had about 11 mentioned here. And all we've done was to play political football with each one and seek to allocate blame or indict, depending on where you stood. And sometimes we call on the police or the security services to investigate. They intervene and they come out with results that are not, beneficial to anybody. So there's a stalemate. So you realize that it is only the propaganda effect of these tapes that have had any positive impact, not serious interrogation of them as to see whether indeed any criminality is disclosed and what sanctions could follow, either by those who are on the tape or those who did the recording for whatever reasons. We don't know. We just left it the way it is. And here we are now with another one. And this time there's a casualty. Deputy Minister of Communications is dismissed.
Right.
I think it would be the height of naivety for anybody to assume that this dismissal had nothing to do with the tape. It's complete. I mean, please, well, this one, tell it to the Marines. It's clear. Let's be realistic.
Okay. You have dealt with your first 5 minutes of the preliminary, stuff, but can we start with you looking into doing the serious interrogation of the tapes and the matters therein and how they border on the state?
But before then, let me
that's good. It will help us.
On the minister. Yes. And it is Article 78 plus 3. A minister of state shall not hold any office of profit or emolument, whether private or public, and whether directly or indirectly, unless otherwise permitted by the Speaker acting on the recommendation of a committee of Parliament, on the ground that holding the office will not prejudice the work of the minister, and that no conflict of interest arises or would arise as a result of the minister holding the office.
Who was perfect on that point.
Okay.
Right.
So, now there are many aspects of the tape.
Can we start by looking
if you can
at
direct me.
the aspects of influence in appointments? Is that critical for you?
It should be. First of all, the bottom line is the president who has that prerogative, regardless of whatever input people make. Bottom line is that the president eventually takes the decision.
Right.
And I'll be naive to think that people do not make input. That in this kind of society in which we are, with that kind of subculture of extended family pressure, old boyism pressure, all sorts of even societies that you belong to pressure, all these things come to bear. And that's why sometimes at the vetting you see chiefs and all sorts of people, traditional leaders, rulers coming to support. Quite a weird situation. I recall the Dumazis vetting, if you recall. Huge crowd was brought to the Parliament House, drumming and things and all. These things show that we have all those things coming to bear on the appointment process. But bottom line, constitutionally, the final authority is the president.
She refers to the latest connection on alliance with the presidency and how Mrs. Leta could be unmovable.
But the latest, you see, again, are close friends or allies of the president. That's a fact. I know that for a fact. And what's wrong with that? What we have to do is to determine whether that kind of friendship or alliance is impacting negatively on governance and society. But otherwise, even the latest were close to the Rawlinses. And it goes back when Nana Oyeli taps in her name. Is it Bampo or what? That is her maiden name. Yes, go and check the Star Hotel divestiture process. Her name is there. Check. Tanilita, you see his name in so many other processes. This is in the Rawlins era. Those were the young, brilliant, whiz kids in terms of law, and I have to concede I'm nowhere near their level in terms of intellectual abilities and things, who were on board the NDC machinery, the Larry Ajetes and the rest. They were all there. If you see a lot of Poku and all the rest. So that their roots began then. And today they are still around. He was the president's lawyer, wasn't he? Counsel in the petition. Wasn't he?
He was.
Yes, they're friends.
Chachi was counsel for the NDC.
Yes, and today he's, is he not the chairman of the airport company? The president must trust him to put him there. So I don't have a problem with that. The question is, how does it impact? So you bring further and better particulars for us to interrogate. It's as for your political opponents, let me be honest with you. This is huge ammo for political opposition. Across the divide, that's what has been happening to us. And it didn't begin today, right from the Nkrumah days to today. There are all sorts of allegations of corruption and bad governance and things that continue to have an effect, even though some of them have not been verified or proven in any court of law or any established constituted authority.
Is she talking fact or perception when she refers to the First Lady's role in the processes?
I don't have the evidence, but you see, First Ladies obviously will have a certain level of influence. The husbands listen to them. It is how you, the First Lady, conduct yourself. If you are an intruder or you are too intrusive in the political regime, then there's a problem because there's no constitutional basis for you. But it will be, again, the height of naivety for anybody to think that the First Lady is not contacted by various people with their problems so that she could channel it to the First Gentleman. I would be naive. Perhaps the only First Lady who didn't have that kind of ability was because of where she came from, Madame Fatah. The way and manner, the circumstances surrounding the marriage and things that came and things, she didn't have that intrusive or approach or could not associate too much deeply in the system. Okay, you didn't even have to take her time to learn some of the petty languages. How many people were going to go to her with her problem and things? Okay, other First Ladies at different levels have played different roles. Some were too overt and too, intrusive in political affairs, and that created problems for them. I haven't seen that evidence relative to Mrs. Lordina Mahama. But I'll be amazed if somebody said she's never.
When you say somewhere too intrusive and overt, whatever it was, I think you obviously are referring to Nana Konadu.
Well, I didn't want to mention names in this context so that we are focused, because everybody knows.
Because we have a history of the First Ladies,
yes.
And there is none than Nana that you can refer to have had such a presence in the president's, role.
I know you are compelling me, and if I say so, and I'll give evidence to that effect, I am able to establish a case that was what she did. But you see, I don't like to be diverted.
I see.
When I touch the Rawlinses, I might get a bit more passionate about issues, and there are good reasons for that. But I want to stay off the Rawlinses for today and focus on the issue. So you see, relative to that aspect, those who make the claim ought to give us some further and better particulars. Let me give you a typical example. I've been thinking deeply about it. There's the element of accessibility. And in your introduction, you made the point that perhaps a revelation, if it is, has vindicated Babin's point. See, at least, even though I've not been in government before, I've been a student of governance and governments over a long period of time and how presidents are contacted and things. I've been asking myself something. Would anybody, and especially a minister of state and a deputy minister of state, as well as presidential aides, ever proceed to the office or the residence of a president without prior notice and prior appointment? Ever? That's odd. That is completely odd. So if indeed she says some of the deputy ministers appeared either at the office or the residence, and the soldiers knew that they were deputy ministers but did not allow them in and said, wait, why not? Why not? Good governance and straightforward politics is not done anywhere. That because you are a minister of state, you get up, go to the president's house or office, and expecting that they will just ask you to go in. It's never done anywhere. There must be prior notice, prior appointment. If you want, the chief of staff's office is there, the president's secretary is there, there are many other staffers. You arrange, the president ought to know you are coming and ought to have given you an appointment. That's a fact.
All right.
So those who are making the issue about accessibility, look, put it in right context. If you have been given notice and you go and the president refuses you access, that's negative on governance. If you've been making so many attempts through a chief of staff or secretary of president and you can prove it and the president is still not inviting you, that's a problematic issue.
Ebi, tell me, also looking at Kweku has added the other aspect of access from the way she tells her story. Some people don't find that to be strange, really, about the influence bit that she talks about. That, the appointments to office in this country, or most African countries, if you like, is not really on merit.
No, I wouldn't say that it's not based on merit. I would say that it's a combination of factors. One of it is merit. Another one is how you can influence your way through. On merit, there are a number of people who are qualified.
You remember Babin talking about how much contribution you would have made? To monetary contribution, determining where you get to in the government?
So that's what I'm saying, that apart from, there are a myriad of factors that determine your appointment. Sometimes you must even have a godfather. So if you don't have somebody at the right place and at the right time to mention you, they will skip you. But you may be a good material. So it's a myriad of factors. Coco has mentioned some. Some even have to do with the fact that you may be a classmate to somebody who is close to the president. That could be one factor. So there is nothing wrong with her indicating that she has an influence and her appointment was based on this influence. The disappointing thing is, how do those who appoint make checks on the backgrounds of the appointees? Is there a way to ascertain whether this person is fit and is the proper person for this job? If we are able to do that, we won't have a situation where today we have a deputy minister who has not been discreet, who has not been moderate in her way of doing things and has let herself loose. Would we have such a situation in our hands today? We wouldn't have. So
some will say it's not a case of not being moderate and letting yourself loose, but it's someone who is just talking the truth.
Oh,
because for some, the politicians speak the truth when they are talking to each other, but when they are talking to their audiences, they tell a different story.
You see, when you look at most of the things she said, I cannot see the truth in it. For instance, I was part of the struggles in the Supreme Court in terms of providing legal assistance.
Don't let us go there yet. Talk about the influence and the access to the president, and maybe about the money also, the intention to steal that has come in.
Yes, so my point is simply this. Influence, people have influence, and you must be connected. You see, the president, before he became president, had friends. He wasn't just born as a president. He had friends. The first lady also had friends. The first lady would have been a commoner before she became a first lady. So, putting that together, these are people who she would still be dealing with, even though she's a first lady. The president is a president today, but still, the president would have to be dealing with those friends that he left behind when he wasn't a president.
It may be okay for people to recommend others to you for a job, but is there a process to thoroughly scrutinize them before you accept them?
That's the point I made. So the appointing authorities, the president cannot see everybody one-on-one to determine how suitable the person is. That is why he has a team made up of chief of staff, his secretary, cabinet, and all those people. They should then go the extra mile to find out the background of this person.
The security services do.
They do those things. But to what extent do they do that? Because we find people appointed into positions, but they fall short of our expectation. It means that the system put in place is not working. Do we have other considerations?
No, is it that you ignore the standards that are good to get the best people? Because you cannot say that you put Nana Oye there and you don't expect that she will do the job. Because, look, she's accomplished.
Sometimes it is not only the competence. Sometimes you need to satisfy other sectional interests. Look, I'll tell you, there have been a lot of calls sometimes to the presidency from traditional rulers to appoint their own people. We saw that in the case of the ministry for the Western Region chiefs. So you have a lot of competing interests.
So you're confirming the influence, but you're saying it's not bad.
It's not bad. It is for the appointing authorities now to then go beyond the influence and see whether that person is suitable for the job. If we're able to do that, there's nothing wrong. Indeed, it will be wrong for somebody to think that where there's power and there's a vacuum, people will not, as it were, lobby for that vacuum. People will want to occupy that position, and lobbying is part of it. So there's nothing wrong with that. What I think is wrong or what I think has not been done sufficiently enough, is the background checks on these persons. Again, every government would have put in place mechanisms as to how you can meet the president. When the person becomes president, he loses most of his privacy. Now, the protocol is put in place, and you have to go through the protocol.
Right.
So the president and the presidency will no longer be an open place for you to just walk in and walk out. You now have to go through processes.
So Bagbin should stop complaining.
No, when we get to Bagbin, we'll talk about it, because even Bagbin himself would admit that when he was Minister for Health or Works, it's not everybody who had access to him, because...
But he's among the president's wise men.
Yes. But you still need to... The issue doesn't... It's not so much about the president, but the people surrounding the president and making it difficult for the president to be accessible. We should be able to deal with that. The party has made it clear that they will have to streamline that process.
Yes,
we'll get
to that. We'll get to that, because in there also, in the parties talking about streamlining a certain process, it's a certain hint of a certain lack of command in the whole process. Let me come to Esla now. When you look at the talk of the influence and the access and the intention to steal, do you take them seriously?
If you juxtapose that against her earlier post on her Facebook wall that she's being forced to steal because of the incessant demands being made on her for all manner of things by all manner of people.
She got applause for that.
Yes, she did. It's the reality of our political life. But could this be a sign that she may have given in to the temptation? I don't know. Because you're talking about somebody, $1 million isn't pocket change. Let's not lose sight of the fact. Why would anybody even mention that $1 million? It means she has her sights set on something to cushion not just her personal life, but to secure her political future going forward, because that's the justification that she gave, being able to control others. So it is not something that we can merely wish away or excuse. And I think that, for starters, somebody should be checking her bank balance and to see if she's made some headway towards acquiring that war chest and is well on the way to meeting that threshold that she set for herself.
So,
and I'm not saying it idly.
Me make 1 million and me koko is the same as I have intention to steal 1 million.
There's an account saying that midiminyansa pemininche.
To wait.
Midiminyansa pemininche.
To wait.
I am keeping mum because I know what my aims and objectives are. So no matter what happens, I know what I plan to do. So I will just do whatever I am asked to, or I will put whatever structures there are in place to ensure my own longevity in whatever venture I put my mind to. And she's saying that, yes, she's also going through issues in her place, but she knows what she wants, so she's keeping quiet. She doesn't even mind serving her minister's wife, if that is what it entails, because she knows what she wants. That isn't the mark of somebody who's naive. It's a mark of somebody who's shrewd, and she knows what she's doing. And she says also somewhere that she's going to use whatever tools are at her disposal to attain whatever heights she wants to attain. And there's some native wisdom in some of the things
Make
that she says.
alliances locally and internationally. Nothing wrong with that. You have been doing that for the most part of your life as an advocate.
No, but, you know, I just made a note that in whatever venture you undertake in life, it is your professionalism which will be your best advocate and your best defense. It's not so much the alliances, but whatever job you put your mind to, give it your best shot. And that will always speak for you. no matter what trials you go through. Allies may have, you may be a small fry, they may have bigger interest than you. And when it comes to the crunch, they would look at where their bread is buttered and what's in it for them and dump you like a ton of hot bricks. But if you are good at what you do and you do it well, and the whole world recognizes that, as for this person, like her or hate her, she's good at what she does, that is your best defense. So this insistence or excessive reliance on patronage and whom you know, the established linkages, those who supported us and all that, at the expense of merit, competence, proven track record, demonstrated competence, not just, that is partly the bane of the kind of leadership that we have. And it may not be limited to just this group alone. But you can't also say that you will not look at those who supported you in your... But there must be some balance so that you would have people who will really be there to do the work instead of those that you are rewarding for services rendered in the past.
Right.
She also says somewhere that her position was assured long time ago, so she's very influential, even though she lost her seat. What does she mean by that? What assurances were giving her?
I heard some of that. What that means is that she has influence on her colleagues.
Well, in the collation center, I had senior NDC people giving her assurances that she shouldn't worry. If John Mahama wins, she would definitely get a position. So she shouldn't worry, even if she loses. That's the source of her assurance, her confidence, that her position was assured a long time ago.
And is that bad?
It is not bad.
If she is qualified to be put forward by the party as an MP, she should be equally qualified to be a minister.
I am not so sure of that. And that's why I'm saying that when we are putting people in positions of authority, we need to look at their experience. Demonstrable competence. Proven track record. Not just the one who shouts loudest, or insults most, or is most obnoxious, or in your face, or she's talking about beauty and hips as a criteria for appointment. And I ask myself, where is that getting us as a country? If she says that there are people who are more beautiful than you, who didn't even get appointment, and they are all waiting in the sidelines, is that what people should be looking at? Is that what gave her position, beauty and hips? Is that why she's saying that is a criteria for appointment?
Did you take her serious on these ones?
With some of the appointments, you would wonder. And certain comments were made. It just, well, in hindsight, and at the time, I was one of those but I went along with it. I'm on the appointments committee and would have had some serious questions if we had been there. And I'm looking forward to whoever is going to be appointed to replace it. And they better bring somebody who is worth their
mettle. The appointments committee people have also said, some people hold the view that they've actually not added any much because what do? Just say yeah and allow the people to go through.
I think that it is time we had a more assertive legislature. And I think, and I've made that statement in other fora, even in other meetings of parliament, I think it is time that the legislature rose to the occasion and acted as the real check on the executive power. We have the power, we have all the constitutional powers, but it is in its application that we let the people down.
Finally, about your not taking lightly talk about making money, do you think that there's a need to investigate that? You think that's necessary to do?
Absolutely. I think that for starters, and I've said that in other, we need to start with a lifestyle audit. We need to start with a lifestyle audit of our people in positions of authority. You heard President Mills saying that if SEPS officials are able to build a house in 3 years, then it means they're corrupt. What about government officials whose only official source of income is their salary, acquiring property in 3-4 years? Isn't that worth investigating?
But the thing that Professor Mills spoke about, and God bless his soul, we know them, we just play ostrich, don't we?
That is why I'm saying that we shouldn't just pay lip service to it and say things that we want people to hear. But we should move beyond that and start with a lifestyle audit of our people in positions of authority.
Okay, finally to you, there are those who say, look, the aspect of the gossip, so to speak, about about, bad-mouthing one another and, power struggle within that the gender ministry, speaks volumes about and confirms the hackneyed expression that women are their own enemies.
Please, don't go there.
Because these are women fighting themselves.
But men also fight themselves. Male ministers and their deputies fight themselves all the time. Why don't we say men are their own worst enemies? It happens all the time. We hear of the tales of juju and undermining and all manner of things. When it happens to men, it's normal. They are human beings first and foremost. People are jockeying for position. Everybody is trying to project themselves. I'm not saying it is right. But I'm saying that one way to minimize that conflict is to involve the ministers in the selection of their deputies. Because you have to take the personal chemistry also into consideration when you're making those appointments. And I must give it to President Kufuor. He did that.
Okay, why you tell me, do you think that Rahel, Apok is that the name, can continue to work in that ministry if we are to take these, the conversation seriously? Because obviously the report is that, she has problems with the minister and she's also scheming to undo her. And this woman is advising her that, look, don't do it because she's the one at the top and she's the minister. You only take assignments. And if you try to, do anything against her, she will end up, winning the fight against you. It sounds to me like this will inhibit the cooperation that they require to work together mutually and to promote our interests, supreme interest. Can she continue to work in that place and together with the minister nicely after all these, revelations, as if they are true?
Yeah, Samson, I mean, like we are all trying to interrogate this tape that has come. And some of us, our position is that these are talks by somebody. I still stand by that. I mean, some other people will say, let's interrogate certain key issues there. We will when they come up. So if I am with the position that the former deputy minister was just talking some egoistic style in her own presentation, then what I think is that, for instance, if you can talk to Rahel, then why didn't you ladies, I mean women talk, hold Rahel, both of you, go to the minister, sit down and talk, and let's address this issue. I think they could have done that. But if you look at the line of conversation, it means that you advise Rahel doesn't want to take it, and so let us leave her now, based on the conversation. Now we are tired of her. Why didn't they take a step? We are deputy ministers. We are all colleagues. We're on the same level. Let's go and see the boss. Let's sit down with the boss. I would have done same, Samson. I would have done same. Let's go to the boss. Lead the other group. Mr. Minister, Madam Minister, this is what my colleague is saying, but if there's anything, can we begin to look at it? Then we can advise our colleague. We are deputies. So to say that they can't work together, then Samson, it means that when we disagree on matters, we can't move forward and build a nation. That shouldn't be the norm of a society. That shouldn't be a society that seeks to put people together. So I think that regardless of what has come up in the public domain now, they should be able to work together. Rather, when Rahel leaves that office, that means that the tension is on. Because if Rahel leaves that office and goes to another office, and they invent that we have public engagement and public programs, and they meet at such programs, and Samson, in the event that even the president gives them tax, and they happen to converge in performing that tax, then is the minister and her former deputy going to fight each other or look into each other's face and will disagree and the job will not be done? I don't think so. So I think that they should be able to, they should have done that as ladies. From the line of conversation, that was the argument you were saying.
If we can move it to this point, to the aspect of a certain attempt to corrupt the judges in the verdict that we had in the petition. You were, I saw you with the team. I saw you with Chachu all the time, I suppose. Now, I'd like to ask you, the MPP says we should take this a notch higher. And they've issued a statement, and I just want to read just a bit of it. And this was signed by Kojo Owusu-Efriye, who is the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. And it says the New Patriotic Party is shocked at the damning revelations made by now former Deputy Minister of Communications Victoria Hammah that the verdict of the presidential election petition delivered by Justice William Atuguba on the 29th of August was influenced by the government of President John Mahama. The dismissal of Victoria Hammah, coupled with the deafening silence competence of President Mahama and his government in not denying the statement by Victoria Hammah, as contained in her dismissal letter, could only mean that they are true and factual. They are asking that the CJ, they are actually petitioning the CJ to investigate this matter. What do you say?
Samson, where I come from and per my training, I think that petition will be very hollow. It will be out of place because you and I know when you are putting up a case before a court, your statement of claim must indicate what you are claiming before the court. Now, this petition, a certain Victoria Hammah says that I learned or I think that so and so went to see judges.
You need to listen. You need to listen to the tape again, whether she said I learned or she said, do you know what she did, the role she played?
Yes. Then she goes down and said, I learned or I heard. That's clear. It's part of it. We are reading it in tandem. Sometimes my problem is that if this is to be a petition, what are the facts? So you tell the Chief Justice who the probe. To the Chief Justice. Yeah, the probe. Now, if you are probing based on the former Deputy Minister's statement, you want to probe. Now, Samson, what are the facts here? Which of the 9 judges are we going to begin with?
You call her. She will tell you what she knows more.
You see, she goes there and she said that I made a statement. I don't know which judges Mrs. Letta went to. And then it ends there.
But she says that she knows that Mrs. Letta had done ABC, so Mrs. Letta also ought to be invited, isn't it?
Samson, and you and I are lawyers.
So you see that you are getting some process in an investigation.
So we are building a statement of claim. The statement of claim must be clear for the court. Or
no, this is a petition, not a judicial process.
But it must be.
It's an administrative process.
Facts. There should be facts in that petition. Like we went to court, that there was an election 7th and 8th December, that there were some more practices.
I'm telling you that at least there are 2 people who can be spoken to.
Samson, the difficulty is that the 2 of them get to wherever that probe will be done, and then they will tell me, I don't know any judge. I'm not going to, because no judge's
name. So we should wait for them to get there.
No judge's name has been mentioned. So they will go there. Mrs. Letta goes and they say that I heard Madam Hammah says I went to a judge. But please, before this commission, I have not been to any judge. There's no judge name that has been mentioned. So we get stuck. Unless, Sir John indicates that Ms. Hammah is saying that Mrs. Letta went to Judge A's house. Then we have a statement. Then we have a fact. Then we can call Mrs. Letta and Ms. Hammah and call the judge who has been mentioned. They say, okay, these are the facts. They will begin to probe. But until then, there are 9 judges.
Sir John tells you also that this also confirms what Chachu Chiketa had to say, that some of the justices did the bidding of their political masters.
Samson, we've all read, some of us have read the verdict. I have the verdict. And reading the verdict, you see that those judges had their own reasoning in how they saw those matters called malpractices and issues that regularity that went in the election. The issue here is that Sir John's call, the difficulty I have with it is that no judge's name has been mentioned. And so if you bring Ms. Hammah and Mrs. Letta, you get stuck. Because you must point a certain judge that Justice William Atuguba, Mrs. Letta was in his house on so and so day, on so and so time. They discussed it. Then we are moving forward. But if you bring Mrs. Letta, you bring Ms. Hammah, and you get stuck. Because you cannot go and just say that, okay, there are 9 judges, so let's speculate that Mrs. Letta went to the judge's house. And it becomes something. But you see, I raised the issue of 1 million cedis legally. And thank you, the Article 78 is clear. You can even be a public officer, a member of parliament, but if that... Let's see the man who has a lot of radio stations.
It's a point you've already made. Thank you very much, George Wayo. Now, it's important to let you know that Star Assurance has got some very good goodies for you, and you need to visit Star Assurance to be part of it. The endless appreciation for their superior assurance packages by their dear customers, and Star Assurance, the prestigious CIMG Company, or CIMG General Insurance Company of the Year Award 2012, and it has once again puts all of them above every Ghanaian general insurance company in Ghana in the 2012 Ghana Club 100 rankings. This is to you, their dear customers. You made it happen. Their dedicated team will continue to offer you cutting-edge insurance policies that give you peace of mind and power to achieve your set goals. They work to protect your properties and businesses when the unexpected happens. With their branches located all over Ghana, they are focused on building partnerships that last a lifetime. So talk to Star Assurance today on 0302 240-632 or visit them at www.starassurance.com. Star Assurance, CIMG Company, Insurance Company of the year 2012. Star Assurance, your solid partner. Now, it is also important for you to know that you can keep your conversations going with MTN in Toso. Now, each time you top up with any MTN recharge voucher, you get 3 minutes to enjoy longer conversations. No subscriptions required and no long things. Just top up today and enjoy your 3 minutes on the go with MTN in Toso. Your bonus minutes can be used for MTN to MTN calls only. So go on, keep the conversations going. Welcome to the new world, MTN, everywhere you go. We'll take a quick break here. We'll return, and the lady and the two gentlemen will help us to look into the claims about the influence on the Supreme Court, and we'll briefly look at the police, Koku will say Rambo style, treatment of the driver. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. Now, some of you have sent in some messages. David Reck says, Victoria deserves what she got. Our leaders should learn to talk where and when. She should stay far away and watch and learn. The government needs to take action on this Victoria tape saga. She said one too many things and will not be a good idea to maintain her. Well, she's already gone. Ahmed Mokhtar says, this is what I call dining room conversation. Who amongst you in the panel does not say things in private which cannot be said in public? This is just girls talk. Abdul Majid, well, when you are talking and you are a public official and you're talking about issues that border on national security and the rest, you should be careful. Now, Abdul Majid says that now the Ghanaian knows appointments in governments are not made on merit and competence. Two influential people in government have said so, Honorable Bagwing and Vicky. This is a true failure of leadership and a sad day for Ghana. Michael Kwabna writes, Bagwing has been vindicated when he said the appointments made by the president are based on friends and people who gave money to support the party. This is just the genesis of much serious revelations yet to come. Well, you got some tapes? Let us know. Bonti Benjamin says, Vicky's secret has damaged Ghana's image on the international scene. And if the Hammah government wants the world to believe that he is committed in fighting corruption in this country, then he should probe the matter without fear or favor. Ghana deserves better, if not the best. Thank you very, very much for your messages. Now, I think it would be all right to start with you again, Abdul Malik, on the issue of what she says she knows about latest, connection to the judgment of the Supreme Court.
Well,
and we deal with it briefly. Take a big blow at it, each of you.
See, a deputy minister in a government, regardless of where she was speaking and who she was speaking to make the kind of statement she made, I think we ought not to underestimate it. It may not be the fact. It may not be true. And I'm choosing my words carefully. I say may not be true, may not be a fact. But once she said it and it's been put out there, it's of great public interest. So it is the effect that must be interrogated, because you see, it has a very damaging effect on the integrity of the judiciary. Very damaging. As to whether the Chief Justice will take the petition serious or not is another matter. That's another matter. We've had so many allegations made against judges and things. Incidentally, by one of the classic ones, by Mr. Tony Lita, against Justice Henry Taban. And when he was given the opportunity to come and deal with that matter, he couldn't. And
you don't think this is John at his opportunistic best, politically seeking to make capital out of nothing?
It's predictable. Yeah. The political opposition would do so. Predictable. That's why I said that the damaging effect is such that no matter what happens, true or false, this is the collateral damage is enough ammunition for the political opposition. Unfortunately, that's what the
situation is. There have been earlier rumors and suspicions.
Yes, across the divide. As for the free press thing, none of us took it serious. And I'm not linking this to that. The free press, there was a clock of anonymity as we speak today. Okay, Mr. Chikata came in with Justice Eni Yabua thing. He was talking of a particular judge, which itself was not good enough. And people took him on. Now you have a deputy minister. Of course, he wasn't speaking in public. He wasn't making a disclosure publicly. But it's become public now because somebody recorded. She hasn't denied it. And government has taken it serious enough to sack her. So the matter is serious. Whether the Chief Justice accepts to investigate or not is another matter, because I'm sure there are certain elements that must be considered. Whether this thing constitutes a prima facie case enough to activate judicial inquiry. I believe those things are things that the Chief Justice will consider, and I wouldn't be surprised if they decide not to deal with it because there isn't sufficient material for them from a purely judicial point of view. But politically, government was even silent. You see, I'm not too sure if the silence of government is helpful. Government ought to have said something about that. Maybe spokesperson, individual government members have spoken. But I was thinking of a consolidated government opinion on this matter, which for me at this moment is missing. It's damaging to the integrity of the judiciary. And if Madam Victoria Hammah is listening, maybe she will do a lot of good to herself, to government, and to the nation if she were to come forward with some further and better particulars. Is it to help? Because if it's left as blank as it is, and to say that, oh, this is just gossip, and that, oh, the facts are clear, we all watched the television proceedings, the judges came to a conclusion, they didn't bribe all the 9. I mean, come off it. These things, yeah, you don't have to. So really, these ones have no effect. The lady has dropped a bombshell. True or false is immaterial. It damages the integrity of the judiciary, it damages the integrity of government, and it damages her own integrity. We need to cure the mischief and not just play the evasive game.
But we should also be interested in finding out who was on the other side, right?
Yes. I would be interested, and we're doing our own checks. But I think it's easy. She should tell the world. No, by now she's in a terrible mood.
And has
no
lost
joke.
a number of friends already.
This is no joke. As a person alone, even as a person, and even for the family, immediate family, it's no joke at all. Okay?
Okay.
I'm not sure she has the shock absorbers for this. This is huge.
Right. Abi, what do we make with this?
Which one?
The influence on the judges. You have already said Nana doesn't know them. Nana Oye doesn't know them. So
I indicated to you that since the story broke out, I have been making my checks on the background of Nana Oyelita vis-a-vis these judges. And my information is very clear that Nana Oyelita does not know the judges personally. Don't forget that Nana Oyelita...
She's practicing these
No, that's where I'm coming to. Nana Oyelita is not a practicing lawyer. She did most of her work in NGO work.
No, but so she went to court.
No, I'm saying that
she went to court
she's not one who is frequent in court.
Right.
She's not like the husband.
She's got lieutenants who do that for her
exactly.
Anyway.
She's not like the husband who sleeps, dine, and wine in the court. You understand? So she doesn't know these judges personally to do the things that Hammah is attributing her to have done. And I also said that in the legal profession, monkeys move by sizes. Nana Oyelita, I'm told, has a mate either at the High Court or the Court of Appeal, they are not up there for her to be able to walk to them and do such a thing that Hammah will do, because he has a mace there.
Or Chachi will do.
Chachi will do. Sam Okujeto, his colleagues are even gone on retirement. So you see the point. Yeah. So monkeys move by sizes. I am saying that what she did was to try to, there's a dispute between Nana Oyelita and the deputy minister. So she wants to put Nana Oyelita at a certain pedestal and to tell the listener, the innocent listener, that Nana Oyelita is in a certain class. And so by so doing, exaggerating the importance of Nana Oyelita. If she were talking to me, she wouldn't say those things, because she knows that I can decipher the truth in this matter. But she was talking to an innocent person who didn't know the role of Nana Oyelita in all these matters. Look, I start with Tony.
How do you come to that conclusion that she was talking to an innocent person? She may have been talking to another minister, perhaps.
And who says that all ministers? Who says that all ministers are knowledgeable in matters of law? So, you see, I have sat with Tony whilst we were in court. I was directly behind him. Sometimes, Tony himself, some decisions, rulings will go against the NDC and the president, and Tony will be in pain.
It happens to every lawyer, doesn't it?
It happens to every lawyer. So, my point is this. Now the linkage. If Tony's wife was that influential, Tony will not be whisking and be feeling so bad about some rulings going against the NDC. Tony would have used the wife to secure those rulings in her favor.
No.
You understand?
We are talking here of the outcome.
No.
And not of
I am making a point. The man wouldn't have been suffering till the outcome.
Oh. So
each the man wouldn't have been suffering until the outcome. No. If you are supposed to make something comfortable for a person, you start doing it from the day one.
So each objection should have been ruled that way. I mean, please, let's not go into the realm of absurdity here.
No. Coco, I'm saying that sorry. The point is the woman is not that connected to be able to do those things.
Well, that's a different
It's a child's play to say that the woman is connected.
But it is possible if she were connected to do that.
I am making my submission based on what she has said. I'm not in the realm of conjecture. So I cannot answer that question. You see?
Oh, but you have conjectured about the third party on the phone line and done in your interpretations to the things she had to say.
Yes, and I'm saying that I am making comments based on what you are saying is not on the tape. That's the point. And I won't let you invite me to be talking about extraneous factors. I'm talking about what is in the tape.
All right.
Now, to say that...
Finish in a minute for me.
Yes, to say that I know Elita, and I've heard people sit here and rubbish the 5-4 ruling. Why? If you take any of those rulings made by the judges, they were founded on law. Even the 4 or the 3 who disagree with the NDC found a portion of the law to anchor their ruling. So, what is the evidence from, what is her name? Victoria Hammah, to say that it was procured by illegal means.
So should she be questioned and should Nana be questioned? That's what the NPP is asking for.
Do you know if we were going to, after this court ruling, if we were going to be certain committees, do you know the number of committees? I've counted. There would have been 1, 2, 3, 4. There would have been a committee on Ashanti. Just yesterday, I was on in a banter with Sir John. He mentioned the IGP also sent some people to the chief judge, to the people. There would have been a committee to the judges. Sir John, he said that IGP led people to the judges. So that would have been a committee there. There would have been a Sam Okujeto statement committee. Then probably my own mentor, Chachiketa committee. So the point is this: do you know
there can be one committee to deal with all of this?
That is why there's
none.
There can
be one committee to deal with this.
There's none.
So let her tell us.
We cannot go on a wild goose chase. You see, as a legal practitioner, you know that something must be founded on a solid foundation. You can't build on nothing.
Otherwise, it's frivolous.
It's frivolous. You can't go on a wild goose chase.
Let the lady come and tell us how frivolous it is.
All right. Thank you very much, AB. I don't know what you have to say about that one.
I find it interesting that today we're saying that all the rulings should have been in the NDC's favor during the court case. Many commentators have described the petition judgment as a travesty of justice and turning our law on its head. Many people are seeking answers to why we find ourselves in this position. Many reasons have been ascribed to that. Many, many allegations are swirling around. This is the latest to make the rounds that...
you mean many who sympathize with the NPP?
I'm not so sure that the legal commentators who have commented on this sympathize with the NPP, all of them, and I'm approaching it from that end. I'm looking for, I wish I were in first year law school, doing, in the faculty, doing constitutional law. And yes, I sometimes I just wish I would be a fly on the wall and listen to how first year law students would treat this judgment in view of the settled principles of law. But let's not go there. Lawyers can argue ourselves to we're blue in the face. But in my opinion, for the sake of the integrity of the Supreme Court, in view of the reservations that many people have about the decision that they handed down, particularly Justice Atuguba's opening remarks that the judges strive to preserve election results. Really? So that even in the face of evidence to the contrary, judges will strive to preserve the election results. What would enable Ghanaian judges strive to preserve election results? Could it be that they may have been subjected to some kind of influence, one way or the other, to arrive at that blanket overriding consideration that they led them to deciding this election petition? That's what Justice Atuguba said.
That's not what he meant.
Oh.
That's not what he meant.
Oh, we are now talking about what he meant?
Yeah, you are interpreting giving an interpretation to it.
I am saying what he said. I'm not interpreting it.
What?
He said...
Simply put, if people queue to cast their votes...
Is that what Justice Atuguba said?
That is the import of...
Please, let me make my
point. You don't cancel their votes. You don't take away their votes.
Because she didn't do that to you. Go on.
No, don't do that. He said they will strive to preserve election results.
Based on what?
What about the other jurisdictions where people have queued and yet their results have been overturned? Even in this country, in the last election, people queued and they had their results overturned. Are they less human than those whose results were preserved? I don't want us to go into the interrogation of the decision.
Okay, so let's keep to the rumor about the
I'm telling you that in the light of this blanket statement by Justice Atuguba and the many people striving to make sense of the decision and the many rumors swirling around, this lady also drops in, but do you know the role Nano Yeleta played to secure us the election petition victory? Really? What does she know that the rest of us don't? And you're saying that because Nano Ye's mates are not on the Supreme Court bench, the bench which adjudicated this matter, she cannot influence them. Really? It is not just personal knowledge, but it is also the power and influence you wield that can enable you influence a decision one way or the other, not just in court, but anywhere else. You and I, because maybe we're known publicly, would be able to get results from a ministry department or agency when an ordinary person would just be dismissed.
Is that to say that even as a practitioner, you believe in what Chachu said, that some of the judges can be influenced by ulterior, extra, things other than the evidence that are presented in court?
As a lawyer, it saddens me when the integrity of the judiciary comes under attack. Because I know that there are many, many fine men and women sitting on and adjudicating cases in our courts. So I would be very hesitant to also toe that line. But when you have a senior legal practitioner coming up with such a statement, which flies in the face of the evidence, then you ask yourself, what may have motivated Chachu to make that statement? You interrogate the statement he made on the basis of the facts as presented in the judgment of Eninyabua. And when you do that interrogation, you realize that his statement had absolutely no basis in fact. But why was he so quick to make that statement? You ask yourself that. You were quick to impugn the integrity of judges. And so you open the door wide for anyone else to also impugn the integrity of the judges who voted in your favor. And that is what people are doing. So I think that it is in the interest of the Chief Justice herself and the judiciary to allay the suspicions of Ghanaian people and lay this issue to rest once and for all. So I would urge her to investigate this issue. There are too many noises being made about this decision, and which not just brings our Supreme Court into dispute, but the entire judicial system in this country, and erodes the confidence that citizenry should have in our judiciary.
Because you believe them.
They are the last bastion. They are the last refuge of the ordinary citizen. They are the ones who stand against the ordinary citizens.
Because you also believe them. And I remember in this country not too long ago when Dr. Raymond Atuguba, Malba, and others, told us that the judiciary is corrupt. Even the Bar Association, took them on.
What was the basis for them making that assertion? We need to interrogate what they're saying. This lady is saying that Nano Yeleta played a role in influencing the decision that they got.
So what was
you are saying, I'm saying that let us interrogate what she's saying. Let us not dismiss it out of hand. It is in the interest of the judiciary to put an end to all this ugly rumor and suspicion once and for all.
Okay.
For their own integrity.
So they should investigate not only this, but all the others?
Absolutely.
I see.
They should take, and for just for information, Nano Elita was a year behind me in the law school, so she would have been called to the bar in 1991. Her husband was my mate. And if you say that Tony was my classmate, we were called in 1990. So if you say that the colleagues aren't on the Supreme Court bench, you'll be factually right. But does that mean they don't have any way of having a conversation with them?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You don't have to be connected by way of sitting in the same classroom with them.
It's not. Gentlemen and ladies.
May have.
Okay. All right. All right. We need to proceed. At this point, we need to proceed at this point and move on to the question of the police involvement and how that ended. If we can deal with that briefly also, and then we'll move on to Babing and his problems with the government and John Mahamed's reaction, the Hanatete, Felix Fosu Kwachio Fosu, all of them, the reactions that came in. And Abi, and I want to bring to your attention this, I'm sure you're familiar with, the 1992 Constitution, Article 18.2, says, and I read, that no person shall be subjected to interference with the privacy of his home, property, correspondence, or communication, except in accordance with law, as may be necessary in a free democratic society for public safety or the economic well-being of the country, for the protection of health or morals, for the prevention of disorder or crime, or the protection of the rights of or freedoms of others. How do you situate this in the arrest and detention of the gentleman?
Yes, my reference point will be the Constitution as well.
Right.
It provides for the protection of privacy. It ensures that the person's privacy is not violated. But you have also read some exceptions.
Right.
Where
plenty exceptions.
So at the end of the day, it's like you give out with the right hand and you take away from that same person with the left hand. I am sure that Vicky, that's Victoria Hammah,
right,
made the complaint. Made the complaints to the police based on the fact that she felt that her privacy was violated had been invaded by the driver.
Let's take it step by step. Will you make a complaint to the police when such a thing happens to you?
Sure. As a good citizen, if you feel that your rights have been trampled upon, you make a complaint to the appropriate authorities.
Right.
But as to whether this can be founded on a criminal action is what I am not sure about. Now, I guess that the appropriate action would have been for her to take civil actions to then get some damages out of the violation of her privacy. And I'm sure that is the reason why the police could not continue to hold the driver for long. I'm told the driver has been released now.
That is so.
So, yes, she's right that she thinks that the driver might have, or allegedly might have secretly tipped her. That, and we all agree on this platform that the conversation we are hearing from the tip was a private conversation. So, on her part, she's right to feel strongly that her privacy has been violated. But what processes are there for her to seek for redress? I don't think that it lies on criminal prosecution and all those things.
If I can come in here quickly, because whilst you are proceeding on a point, you also quickly nodding and saying that is what ought to have been done. Do you think that the police didn't know what they were doing in this respect?
Well, I think the police may have felt that they had to take action because a deputy minister or former deputy minister had made a formal complaint. So let us just invite him and go through the motions and release him. But they also ought to have educated her on the proper procedure to take to vindicate her rights or whatever that she felt had been violated, her right to privacy, which indeed had been violated. I mean, if it happened to all of us, we would be livid that private conversations would be thrown out there in the public domain. And I don't think it's something that we ought to encourage. I think that we need to know where to draw the lines and where the limits ought to be. You may be a public personality, but indeed you also have a life, and that should be respected and protected by all. And having said that too, I think that we should also be circumspect in the conversations that we have and where we have those conversations. I think the way she ran down her colleague minister was unpardonable, no matter what the lady had done. I think that the certain statements were made which went a little too far, sometimes even attacking her family. It's nobody's fault that they're from a poor background. And so you don't run down her family like that. Some of the things she said were unpardonable. But the police, instead of just inviting everybody because of whoever is making the complaint, should also sit those complainants down and tell them that, I'm sorry, madam, but under the law, really, this is outside our jurisdiction and our control. But you may seek redress in another forum.
Some of them still do the debt collection, you know.
They're not debt collectors. That's why I'm saying that they should focus on their core mandate. They keep complaining that their numbers aren't enough and they're overloaded with work. And then they go on these private tangents which aren't part of their core business and neglect the work that they should be doing. They shouldn't be doing that. And the IGP should be up and doing and educating his people and taking action when such incidents come to his notice. So whichever police person arrested this man should be sanctioned for going outside the ambit. They know that their authority is granted in the criminal code. And the other piece of legislation... Why should
he be sanctioned? He would have done the preliminary work to now come to the conclusion that what is happening is not criminal, and so we can't prosecute him, so let him go.
What was the nature of the complaint?
That the guy is the one who taped her.
Okay, so somebody tapes you. Which aspect of the criminal code does that violate? Or which criminal sanction which criminal action would emanate from that action that the person may have taken? We need to be a bit more proactive.
We don't know the complaint lodged at the police station.
They told us. The police officer told us. He told Joy News.
And in any event,
yes, he told Joy News midday that Victoria Hammah had lodged a complaint that she believed that is the driver who took a tape recording of her.
In any event, just to round up on that, where is the evidence that it's actually the driver who did the recording?
Right. I was going
in these days of electronic surveillance and all that, we could be sitting here. We think that we're secure. Somebody could have slipped a bag under the table or wherever. Even pens can record people, buttons and all that. You never know the manner in which the recording was
Lawrence,
made.
the guy has sworn that he's not the one and that he can't do that to the minister because apparently that's the cousin. Abdul Malik, I want to know, and I have my bias on this because I've told the police that, I mean, this is shameful because I expect that basically they should have known that this is not a criminal matter. But the question comes up again. Do people have the right to invade the privacy of others, the manner in which this has been done?
Well, I'll deal with that soon, very, very soon. But when she lodged the complaint, just a verbal one, did the police have in possession the recorded material? Did they listen to the recorded material? And if they listened to it, what was their judgment? You see, if they had, I mean, this is just a hypothetical situation I'm drawing, but if they had, the key elements on that tape about possible bribery or corruption of the judicial process relative to the election petition and thinking of about $1 million and things, even though I relegate that slightly, but the judges want up, that then would even mean that the complainant should have been the subject matter of inquiry and not who did the recording. For starters. In any case, recently, the presidents, I thought the police had been rather looking for those whose voices were on the tape, rather than who did the tape, recording. But here we are, a certain shift, lack of consistency. That's one. Now, two, relative to the point of privacy, which is an issue, it's a very serious issue. But you read the constitutional provision that goes for that. You see, the issue is this: who is doing the recording? For what purpose? When and where and how? We must determine the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how. As a journalist, our code of ethics enables us, empowers us, and I think you know that.
Yeah, chapter 5 is it?
Yes, when it comes to respect for privacy and human dignity, it says journalists shall respect the right
from
the Ghana Journalists Association GJ handbook. Journalists shall respect the right of the individual to privacy and human dignity. 2, enquiries and intrusions into a person's private life can only be justified when done in the public interest. Then come to information and pictures, Article 12. This was Article 5. This is Article 12. A journalist shall obtain information, photography, and illustrations only by straightforward means. The use of other means, that is 2, can be justified only by overriding considerations of the public interest. 3, the journalist is entitled to exercise a personal consensuous objection to the use of such means. But let's go for the National Media Commission's print guidelines.
Right.
And when it comes to news gathering, even though it has provision, let me read the privacy one first. There must be respect for private life. A person is entitled to privacy in their home, property, and communication. It is unacceptable to use long lens camera and recording devices without the consent of news subjects and to intrude in places where there should be reasonable expectation of privacy. Come to, that is, privacy was chapter 6 or section 6. Then when you come to section 4, it says news gathering. As a general rule, journalists must not use or publish materials obtained by subterfuge, using clandestine devices such as hidden cameras and hidden tape recorders. Such activity may, however, be justifiable in special circumstances such as detecting and inspecting crime sites or protecting public health and safety. So we are
reproducing the exception in the Constitution.
Fantastic. So we are enabled, dependent on the circumstances. If I see somebody is about to commit a crime or is in the process of committing the crime, or somebody is plotting a coup d'etat, all these things.
This is for a journalist.
Yes, that's why I said that's why I said, look at that. Who, what, when, where, and how. For the journalist, I'm clear, and we can do so. But in this case, we do not know who did the recording. But even if it turns out that he is not a journalist, and yet the material that has been produced out of that recording actually contains criminal things, I am sure that the one who did the recording will not be the one at the receiving end of the law. It is the one who was thinking or plotting to perpetrate a crime or something illegal that I think should be the focus. Right. So we journalists, as I said, we are ethically enabled and empowered to apply some of these methods, and that is where comes in,
right,
with his
okay.
methodology and process.
Now, George,
that one I didn't hear.
Esla mentions, whistleblower, and I mean, it's part of my bias. I say that, in principle, the gentleman could qualify as a whistleblower, and what would he have done to qualify for him receiving protection from the state, as the Whistleblowers Act, for example, says. I just want to read just a little portion of the Whistleblowers Act of 2006, Act 2720, and Section 1 says that, and it's about disclosure of impropriety. I just read two of them to you. It says, a person may make a disclosure of information where that information that person has reasonable cause to believe that the information tends to show A, an economic crime has been committed or is about to be committed or is likely to be committed. B, another person has not complied with a law or is in the process of breaking a law or is likely to break a law which imposes an obligation on that person. And finally, C, a miscarriage of justice has occurred or is occurring or is likely to occur. I mean, general principle, I'm thinking about Assange, I'm thinking about a few other people. Yes, Snowden. Yeah. Do you think that in that regard, this gentleman rather deserves some protection?
That is if he did.
If he did, presuming.
If he did it.
Yes, assuming that he did.
Thank you very much, quickly.
Right.
I think if he did. Samson, if you look at the heads you've just given, for economic crime has been committed or has been committed, non-compliance, break of rules, breaches, and then miscarriage of justice. Let's go back to the tape.
Right.
Now, let's even take the issue of the 1 million, and then the information is there. I am not leaving politics until I have made. The reason why I want to say, because my earlier submission, I said...
And I'm saying if you are quoting her, you are wrong. She didn't say I'm not leaving politics until I have made.
Just paraphrasing, putting every submission in that...
1 million,
So what that means is that I can stay in there, work diligently, legally, and acquire small, my salary, my gift here. Okay, the reason why I still want to belabor this point is that it is out there, but we don't need to really let it look like, because I'm a young man, I'll go into politics. It doesn't mean that when I go there and I'm smart and I'm keeping my small salary, and a certain tallow say this one has done very well. End of year, Christmas, Mr. Wayo takes some...
Oh, serious?
So you see, so I'm trying to say that... I'm not saying $1 million. I'm saying that we should also put it together that means that a person, the public officer, and cannot
You won't stay long in the president's office.
So the point is this. No, Osla, the reason I'm saying this is that as humans, unless the crime
I'm saying
is
the
clear.
example you gave about gift from Talo, for example, the Shraj
Yes, they
Act.
investigate.
The Shraj Act prohibits that. Also, the guidelines for conduct of ministers prohibits all of these.
That a minister cannot take a gift. Cancel gift. Go to the tax.
Go
to our tax. Gifts are gifts. Are we trying to tell Ghanaians that I cannot take a gift because I'm a minister? The president gets pampers. People get pampers.
Pampers?
You get pampers. Oh.
Pampers, not pampers.
Oh, sorry. I mean hampers.
Oh,
thank you. Hampers.
Oh, I see.
Right. Sorry.
That
was
a slip.
I mean, that's a slip. I mean, people get hampers. People get gifts. I'm trying to say that as a human society, we should also paint the picture that a person cannot get a gift or a hamper for a good job done because you're a minister of state or a public figure. That is not the position of the law and the human society.
But the other position is that
it must conflict.
Yoko or some other investigations can take this as a preparation to commit a crime, inco it, and pursue that.
And investigate it. And when they are found wanting, that is it. So that is a picture I want to create. So what I'm trying to say is that if you look at the heads you've just given,
right.
Now this young man, if even he, not the one who recorded, if even he did the recording, under which of these heads will he be coming under? That, for instance, if you take the issue of I want to make 1 million, is he trying to say...
You have dismissed that one. Mm-hmm.
If you take which crime or which part of the tape seeks to indicate that she's breaking the laws of this country? if you look at the discussion that she had with the other person on the other side of the line, which
appointing authority, at least for the purpose of
we are looking at criminality here.
Yeah.
We are looking at criminality. Some want to tie into why the police must pick you.
I understand.
And why the police must pick you is that you must connote that criminality.
I understand.
And if you look at these heads, you should be able to establish that beyond reasonable doubt. And until you do that, you cannot qualify as a whistleblower, because if under these heads you're not able to pin down this tape to the issue of criminality, then you cannot qualify. Then the law cannot come and cover you as a whistleblower.
How about the C about miscarriage of justice has occurred or is about or is likely to occur?
The point is that our sister Victoria says that, do you know what somebody has done? And don't let us forget, it is only because she is a public figure. But a lot of people say this at the in the station, Master, judges for Najiska. So they are all in the public domain. Fick was just saying one of those things.
The clear import, the clear import of that thing was not just a matter of asking a question. You see, it was not just a question.
You said, do
you know what she did?
She was trying to tell you of somebody's purported achievement.
Let me say this.
Exactly.
Oyelita.
We're not saying she was right.
She could have done something to procure this victory. She's a lawyer. She could have done research, and there were a number of lawyers.
Judges.
No.
She doesn't have enough
don't forget that aspect. That she was with the judges before.
She could have done a lot of
So not
things.
research. We're not talking
research. She has
research
done
here.
some work. She could have provided some information
to the judges,
to the legal team to write the what is it? The final written addresses.
But that's not what the lady was saying. She said she was with the judges.
That is different.
That's a different
And
ballgame.
I've told you that she has no capacity to go to the judges and do what she did.
Okay.
Everything that
coming back to the heads, you see clearly that our brother, if he did a recording, cannot come under any of these heads to be qualified as a whistleblower. You understand? So the point
But
is,
would he have committed a crime too?
no, that's what I'm saying. That brings me to the issue of the police. I'm on the same tangent with you. I have a difficulty because a lot of time we go to police station and I have a difficulty with the Ghana police. And if they are listening to us, that when the complainant comes, after you have listened to the complainant, you must there and then. Somebody said you must go into it there and then, even from the complaint. Know that there's no need to go and invite the person the complaint is being against. That's my problem. So I'm on the same tangent with something that the Ghana police must desist how they keep to hold citizens because I just ran to the police station. And it's becoming rampant. Everybody just get up, goes to the police station, makes a complaint, and before you see, the person has been arrested.
Maybe some people should also be suing them then. they would be careful, a lot more careful about that. Briefly, and then we'll move on to the next.
Whistleblower. The issue of whistleblower.
1 minute, then we'll
I
move on.
do not think that the person who did the recording could come under the whistleblower
I'm talking
act.
about principle.
Yeah, it wouldn't work here because under the whistleblower act, there are some agencies, institutions, persons,
General, a chief,
yes, that you should report to,
your member
and
of
then
parliament.
you come under the ambit and you can be protected. But this is not one of the situations,
Right.
so he won't fall under.
All right,
those
I hear you.
Yeah, but we don't know if he linked
it.
Right.
We don't know.
But we are speaking,
But on the issue of gifts, I think that is a loophole in our law that we need to address.
So there could be gifts. There could be gifts.
Hang on.
The country
Relax.
is also necessary, the
Hang
circumstances.
on. You're a young man.
But there's a gift tax, so.
I think that we can emulate what pertains in other jurisdictions. And I went to the US, to the Department of Justice, and they actually have an Office of Government Ethics and an ethics officer in every ministry, department, or agency. And they have ethics guidelines. It's a whole book. Every appointee is taken through what they can and cannot do, and that includes gifts. You cannot accept gifts above a certain amount in value. If anyone offers you that kind of gift, you ought to report it to your ethics officer and seek guidance. Can I accept it or not? So we can't just sit here and say that it is okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. Vic is a small politician. She's a small politician. She's a young politician.
Under our Internal Revenue Act,
You pay tax
there's
on
a
gifts.
threshold. There's a threshold.
but that's
Beyond
what she
that,
said.
you
She
pay.
said that.
Yes.
So we have the laws here.
I
But
am
it's also
saying
there.
that we should
Abraham,
even go.
it's not unlawful to receive gifts, is it?
Nobody is saying that.
She's a young
I am
politician.
saying
She's
that
going to be there
we
for
should
40
even
years.
go beyond that.
Dr. Media said that.
He said, don't
Accept
do
gifts.
it.
They are right.
They're seeking to procure some favor from you by giving you those sweetness.
Okay, maybe we should go and read the Shraj Code of Conduct.
Let us emulate other jurisdictions and set thresholds above which you need to report.
No, there is.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Under the IRS.
No, above which you need to report it, not just pay tax on it.
Thank you very much.
You cannot keep that gift.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And there's also the other aspect, but we don't have time to discuss, because if there are people who have been defamed in that discussion or feel that they have been scandalized in some way, they can even sue the voice in it.
Sue those who have put it on air.
They can sue both.
Both.
Your principal is the one who made it. All right. We'll be right back after this break. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. And I've got to tell you again that if you want the best in vehicles, talk about Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, Infiniti, Range Rover, you name it, just contact Erata Motors. They are at East Legon, just at Lagos Avenue, opposite the Body Talk near GT Bank. You can call them 0244 445 268 or 0277 486 800. Erata Motors, the best vehicles at the best prices. And ever imagined sounding different over the phone whenever you make calls? Share some fun with MTN Magic Voice. Another exciting service only from MTN. With Magic Voice, you can choose to speak to your friends and family from among 3 funny voices: an animated cartoon's voice, the Husky King's voice, or a shrill female voice. To make a magic call, prefix the recipient's number with 518 and send. So, for example, you do 518 and then add your number 0244 whatever, and then you send, and you're on. To revert to your normal voice during a call, just press 0 and then call 518 and follow prompts to subscribe. Magic Voice works on both prepaid and postpaid numbers and comes at normal call rates. Send stop to 518 to unsubscribe. Remember, with Magic Voice, it's not what you say, but how you say it. Welcome to the new world. And as you know, this show is also brought to you by Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner, and Star Assurance, your CIMG Insurance Company of the Year 2012. Thank you very much. Also brought to you by Valex Lease, your affordable document management solutions, and Latida. I've got loads of your messages, and I'm also enjoying the discussion you are having on the Facebook page. Very interesting. Now, let's move on to this other matter. Sumana Kingsford Bagbin. He has come under some, I won't say attack, he's got some replies from some members of government. Hannah Tete said that he should shut up and focus on the priority projects that he's been giving. Felix Kwachiofosu, Deputy Information Minister, also told him that he cannot continue to remain in government because of his position now. And then there are groups that came also to sort of tell him to stop what he was doing. We had Johnson Esiedun Ketia saying, well, this may be genuine concerns, some investigations will go on. Mahama Yarga also came to say his concerns will be looked into. But Stan Dogbe wrote that long epistle calling him a liar and an enemy within. Then the president sealed it all with his loyalty and comradeship that he required from them, and not the criticism that was coming to him. And those who wanted to see his back could wait for 2016. I'll start with you, George.
Thank you very much, Samson. I think that I have followed this event, and I did a research, and I want to add a biblical twist to it, because, I mean, yes, a religious twist to it. But Osla, we live in a society.
Go ahead. I just found it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, people are listening. All manner of people are listening. And looking at the event, I went to Kings, First Kings to be precise, and I looked at Samuel as well. I want to use David, Solomon, and his son Rehoboam, how the kingship of Israel was split and taken away. And that is what just is outplaying. Just a quick one. Samson, after David went through some few turbulent times, he still goes on to his knee and pray to his God. And that is why any time David went into trouble, his Lord came to him and defended him. But in the case of Solomon, even when he started getting 700 wives, concubines, building temples for gods and all that, the Lord visited him twice, and he never listened to the word of the Lord. Then the Lord brought adversaries. The adversary was that he made his own servants, his own generals, start to fight him, just to test him. And then he held forth and went ahead with his throne. But when he died, then one of his servants, Jeroboam, was the test again. Now, Jeroboam, after running and being a fugitive all this while, came back to the young king Rehoboam. And then, this is a popular one we all know. Christians know this. That your father gave us a heavy yoke. In fact, your father's punishment to us was severe, and so we became fugitive. But you are a very young one. Can you reduce the load on our head? Can you sympathize and forgive us? That will serve you forever and ever as a united Israel. Then he says, go and come back in 3 days. Rehoboam goes to the palace in Jerusalem, takes the old guys who are advisors to his father, King Solomon, asks them, what do I do with this Jeroboam? And then Israel. Then the wise ones, the old ones who were with his father say, listen to him, what the line he has told, the tangent he's going to be submissive and remorseful, and then pardon him, and then he will serve you. Then he said, okay, you stand here. Then he goes to the young one, the much young ones who grew him as Rehoboam when his father was Solomon. Then he goes to them who are now grown-ups and then asks them that, what do I do with Jeroboam? Then
fast forward to the point.
Yes. Then he says, no, tighten their punishment. Give them a stiffer one. In 3 days' time, Jeroboam comes back, and then the king says, my finger is small. My father's finger was mine will be bigger. My father chastised you with whips. I will chastise you with scorpions. That is exactly what is happening. What I read into what is happening to the NDC now, and therefore President Mahamad's presidency, with Honorable Babin making a presentation, Honorable Hannah Tete coming to make a presentation, Felix and Stan coming. All these are just the positions of, there is nothing new on earth. And what it means is that if you really do not listen, if you do not bring the much older ones alongside, if you do not lump all the advice together, then you seek to risk the throne.
Esla just asked my question for me, saying who is not listening.
Yeah.
No, the point is that, but he said Babin, and Babin was talking about the president. That's what he's talking about, the presidency. That the presidency, I'm going straight to the point also. The presidency, Babin has a problem with the presidency, how to assess it and all that. So I'm saying that if I just oppose what is in the Bible, and so that I didn't go to the Constitution, I went to the Word of God.
And what is the Bible? Somebody wanted to rest the power.
Yes. The point is that if the issue here is that when the two advice were brought in, who was Rehoboam supposed to take advice from? The much older ones who have been with Solomon, they said, relax the punishment, reduce it for them, they'll serve you. His much younger ones who are his cronies who grew up with him in the palace, says that tighten the punishment so they will feel the weight. Now, as he went on the tangent of his much younger ones, then God splits the throne. And Jeroboam finally was given the northern part of Israel. And he was
so Hammah is not listening, right?
Because the point is that I think that just opposing what this Bible quotation is giving me, it means that both the much older ones and the younger ones, the advice must be put together. If Babin is a much older person in the system, and he has made a presentation, and don't forget, General Secretary and even Honorable Mahama Yariga, they've all made indication that this matter will be looked into. So there was a first step that the party will look into this issue and address it from the much older guys who have this idea.
You don't find what the president says subsequently to contradict what they have said, which sounded about a bit reconciliatory?
That is my problem. So I'm only saying...
So the president is not listening. Is that the point?
No, I'm trying to say that if the president is listening at all, he must listen to both the old advisors and then the young advisors, not to get into the feet of Rehoboam.
All right. Esla.
Yeah, I was trying to follow what George was saying here. It was difficult for me. I'm sure many viewers would also be experiencing that same difficulty. But I think that it won't be too difficult for the president to give Honorable Bagbin the hearing that he seeks to desire. He seems to desire. And Bagbin claims that he would want to meet the president one-on-one because there are certain things going on that may not inure to the benefit of the electoral fortunes of the party, not least being the seeming inaction on the issues of corruption which are plaguing this country at every turn. And so the president should listen to some of the counsel that some of them may be prepared to give. And the president turns around and says that tough. He doesn't need this from anybody. He expected comradeship. What does the comradeship and solidarity the president is seeking from his older colleagues mean? What import does it take? Meaning, don't ever point out to me that things are going wrong. Just support whatever I do or do not do. I think that's not the way to secure proper governance for all of us in this country. Good or bad, we're stuck with him for the next 3 years at least, barring the unforeseen happening. And we all pray that nothing like that happens. But so we all expect that at least he will lend a listening ear to those who are seeking to point out the fact that he is charting the course and it is not very straight. So there are certain things that he needs to do which he's not doing. And he says he's not going to listen to anybody. They can all go hang. That's the import of what the president is saying, because he thinks that they're eyeing his seat in 2016. It's not about securing your electoral victory, Mr. President. You've been elected to serve the people of Ghana for the next 4 years, 3 years. This year is almost gone. And we demand some results of your governance in development and in improved conditions of life for all Ghanaians. We're not seeing that because corruption seems to be sinking the ship of states, and we're not seeing much action, as Bagman is saying. I could give you a whole list of issues which have gone unresolved. In fact, we would have liked some equally decisive action on retrieving the Woyome, Waterville, Isofoton monies. It's been about 3-4 months now since the Supreme Court judgment, and we don't know what has been done to retrieve those monies. The Ghanaian people haven't been told exactly what steps are being taken to retrieve. I'm coming.
We have been told.
Apart from being told that the Attorney General... Oh, they have?
Yes, they have issued rates.
Oh, that's interesting, because this is the first I'm hearing...
Yes, they have.
I'm hearing of it. That's nice to know. But if we see that level of proactivity in retrieving monies due to the state, and in those who are in positions of stewardship, exercising a bit more care, duty of care in the way they conduct their work, in terms of going after those who owe the state money and protecting the state's interest, and providing agreements that are promote the welfare of the state and are not just skewed in favor of whoever we're having those agreements with, and in giving our monies away to cronies and all that, we would be happier. Honorable Bagman is saying that, please, things are going wrong. I want to have a conversation with you. And I said that in another forum. If he is finding it so difficult to get access to the president, and the president isn't extending an olive branch to him to say, oh, I'm sorry, it was inadvertent, but please come, let's have a conversation. But he's going out there saying that, you may be eyeing my seat in 2016, so you can sit there and complain. I'm not going to pay you any mind. Then maybe it is the president who has issued instructions that Honorable Bagman and the likes of him shouldn't be brought any close, shouldn't be giving any access to him, because he's in a position to resolve this matter. He's not doing it. He's not making the right noises or overtures, but he's rather deepening the roadblocks.
Is it fair to suggest that he's not seeing any thing concretely being done about the fight against corruption, when you are talking about the president who is bringing together, as it were, to codify all the anti-corruption legislation, and to seek a president who is also promulgating a code of conduct for his officers? I mean, what is he looking for?
Samson, for a start, while we're waiting to do all these fine paperwork, for a start, let's implement the existing pieces of scattered legislation. If we did that and the Ghanaian people saw that we were serious about enforcing our law, I'm sure the noises would go down. But you are waiting till you have a perfect piece of legislation before you act?
Some are asking,
With all
what
due
do you,
respect.
for example, want the president to do? There's a matter that has come up in respect of JIDA, whatever, and the right authorities have taken over and they are doing their investigation. So what do you want the president to do? Should he play the role of the Attorney General?
Committees after committees after committees after committees, with reports left gathering dust on tables and shoved off to other committees to make recommendations which are passed on to other committees. Please. Leadership and the urgency of taking action should emanate from the presidency. If he doesn't send that message down the line that I am not going to condone this kind of behavior, then his appointees would also see that this is the line that this president is towing and we will act. But if you only have committees being set up, on JIDA alone, we've had about 5 or 6 committees already. When are we going to see action on implementing those recommendations, apart from passing them on to other committees? We have seen that some of these private-public partnership arrangements have become a conduit for siphoning money away from the state into the pockets of cronies. What is being done to plug those loopholes?
Allegedly.
Instead of saddling Ghanaians with more taxes and more pain, let's take action to plug the loopholes in our revenue kitty. Right. Then we would be more comfortable that some action is being taken.
I move to you, AB, and then George, your talk about gifts has also gotten a lot of messages. Justice Bawule says that something. Please note that gift tax are on gifts received in social life and settings, and not gifts received in official positions. Government officials and, of course, other public officials, and indeed all persons in positions of trust can't receive gifts, else they engage in realms of corruption or investment corruption. Okay, that's a perspective that you are bringing on. Now, Abi, there's the thing I spoke to you about where Johnson Esiedun Ketia says that he gives a hint, from how I perceive it, that there appears to be some not clear command structure, even with the president, who has been vested with executive power to act on our behalf, and that the party was going to make sure this were streamlined. Babin seems to suggest that there are immature people around the president, and that's the problem. He says Standogbe is not matured. He speaks about party people can't have access because it's Randy Abe who is there, who is no party man. He speaks about family, the government of family and friends. That's very really bad. There's this text, for example, from Kofi, who says that there are too many immature people in President Mahamad's government. It's all right to appoint young people, but they have to be competent, sensible, and mature. Rawlings and had young people in his government. Dr. Chambers, Kwamena Ahoy, Kwesi Boche, Joyce Aye, Totobi Kwache, etc. were all in their 30s, but they were well-educated, intelligent, mature, and above all, enlightened. It appears the government is being run by interns.
I disagree. You see, I can also count. Okujeto Ablakwa is an intelligent young man. Harun Edisu is an intelligent young man. Fifi Kwete is an intelligent young man. Felix Owusu-Kwache is an intelligent young man. So when you have one aberration in the person of Victoria Hammah, it's not to condemn the whole system. Look.
We are not still talking about Victoria Hammah. We're talking about Bagbin.
No.
Yeah.
No. You see?
Because Bagbin's comments predates.
This text is drawn from there.
Okay.
Now, the NDC is in transition. You must agree. With the demise of former President Mills, the late Professor Mills, the old guard era has come to an end. And you look at the current appointment, it will tell you that the president is in for young, energetic people. And that is good for the NDC because it puts the NDC ahead in terms of human resource for the next.
They must not only be young, energetic, but competent.
No. And I've counted competent people for you here.
Right.
Competent people.
I've counted Okujeto, I've counted Haruna Idusu, I've counted Efifi Kwete. These are competent young men. So, but you need to blend the two because it will be shocking to just end the old regime. So you need to blend the two, and that's what I think we have not done well. So that is where Babin is coming from. That I'm an old guard, you have to listen to me. Now, he is not saying that the president is not accessible. He's saying that there are people around, and you've mentioned some of the names, who are preventing him from seeing the president.
That is the issue.
Now, what do we do? And that is what I'm not going to be distracted by you. This is a serious matter. Now, what do we do? General Secretary has admitted that truly we need to streamline so that we can have access and there will be some connection between the party and government. So that is being done, even though it came too late because Alban Babin has already gone to town on this matter. So Alban Babin's tantrums, I must say, the fact is that I have done some checks and it appears it is catching a lot of sympathy from even within the NDC. But what I disagree with Alban Babin is his attack on the president for failing to fight corruption.
Is it an attack?
Yes, I did. He says that he has not seen any leadership qualities in the president to fight corruption. Look, this is a president. This is a president, and they are not born by the facts on the ground. They are not. Yes, I'm going to give you. One, this is a president who, having received the Iyoko, the Gila report, referred the matter to Iyoko. And I'm surprised that process.
She's not alone. No. Many Ghanaians are saying
that is the point. And I was expecting her to use the opportunity to educate the people and say that you don't hurry to court. We have been in this country where people hurry to court and the Attorney General lost the cases and they said Attorney General does not prepare before they go to court.
So you see where some say Babin is vindicated because he says use the appropriate state institutions to do the investigations. Don't set up committees.
No.
Because if the CID, the police have done this job of Iyoko were the first port of call, by now, trials would have started.
No, you don't go to the police when there's no prima facie case built against them. How will we know that here in Joy FM, you have committed an offense? The committee must be set in this room to establish that you have done something before they hand you over to the police. That's what is being done. So you don't just catch somebody and go to the police and say, police, now go to Joy FM and find out what the person has done. He's putting the cart before the horse. Now, secondly, you have a president who has put a sole commissioner to investigate judgment debts. These are part of the accusations that we pay judgment debts. We are now hearing some drill-shaped matter. Isn't it? Koku Bako has turned himself into the official custodian of government records. And he has all the documents. When the state institutions don't have those records, this is a president who has put up a task force. And the task force, oh yes, you are not aware. You left the country, you just came in. Who has put up a task force to go around and check on some activities going on in our ports. Some people have been caught in the net. They have been asked to refund some money. Some are going to be prosecuted. So I'm saying that the facts do not support the conclusion that the president is not fighting the corruption. In the contrary, you see a president who, and you have alluded to some laws being put together. It appears that the opposition and people who think like the opposition will not be satisfied with whatever the president does to, as it were, fight corruption.
His critics say that the kitchen is becoming too hot for him, and he is not ready to take criticism. Because even if there is internal criticism, then you attack instead of taking the criticism.
The president is a human being. If I have a lot of trust in you, and then you come out to criticize me, I'll be naturally shocked. The president is blood and flesh that is in him.
He only wants sycophants
we have no. That's not it. We have presidents who could not take criticisms and had to call their critics Sasabosam. This is not the president who did that. What the president did was to express shock and to say that, wait for 2016. You want to see my back. You've given me 4 years. 2016, I will put you to shame. The people who vote for me again.
Why should you say you want to see my back?
I'm saying that he's a human being.
The criticism is not constructive. Is that what you're saying?
He feels that
he can't take
the people who are criticizing him do not know him. He said that.
Bagman doesn't know John Mahama.
Doesn't mean that if you are in parliament together, they sleep and dine together.
Hey.
Would he know everything about John Mahama? So the president is simply saying that 2016, wait. You will see by our 4 years mandate, you will see the fruits of what I have put in place.
Okay.
And they will indicate to you that I have fought corruption and I have succeeded.
Okay. Abdul Malik, some say if Bagbin, of all people, doesn't know the president, then the voters who voted for him probably just are in the dark, complete darkness.
Well, to be honest with you, I thought the president should not have reacted. I think it was avoidable and unnecessary. It shouldn't, particularly in the wake of the so-called ceasefire that had been launched by the General Secretary. So really, I don't know why the president decided to intervene and make a point. But that is so not really the issue at stake now. See, I'm a little interested. It's predictable. And that's what we've done to ourselves as a nation. He says the political opposition will not be able to see or will not be satisfied with whatever the government or the president is doing. He tempted me to go back. And then I realized that the same thing happened under Kufuor. In spite of all the measures, both legislative and institutional, that Kufuor's administration put in place, my brother and sister, they were not satisfied. To the extent that Korea Japan was forced to issue this statement 12 January 2004, where he made the point that Kufuor's stance on corruption is evidence in his exemplary, accessible, and open leadership, coupled with the pragmatic steps he has taken to enhance fair practices in public administration and office. He was emphatic that Kufuor has taken some decisive steps in combating corruption. And listen to what he said. Apart from enhancing the operational capacity of state institutions in checking corruption, that is serious fraud office and shrage, etc., with increased budgetary votes, the repeal of the criminal libel law, the imminent, this is critical, the imminent passage of the Freedom of Information Act, Public Procurement Act, the Bank of Ghana Act, the establishment of a Revenue Agencies Governing Board, and GCNet, among others, have all been put in place to serve as checks on corruption. In spite of all this, they said no, not much had happened. All governments have suffered this particular thing. Yet we've put in place legislative instruments, laws, plenty, they are there. Then the problem has become enforcement, let's be honest, with some of those things. The Transparency International, that's the Ghanaian chapter, Ghana Integrity Initiative, 2005, 18th October, I think when they released one of the issuer reports. Listen to what they said. They said, GII joins the TI movement worldwide to urge governments, especially in low-income countries such as Ghana, to increase their political will and expand efforts to fight corruption in order to reap the fruits of democracy and development. We specifically call on our government to expedite action on the passage of a Credible Information Act. You see, we don't have it. How many years gone? Yeah. It's about 7 or 8 years as to the date of this. That is indicative of a certain lack of will, both on the previous government and on this government, in terms of the fight against corruption.
The freedom of information, we know the problem was at the point of parliament.
Oh, I'm saying as a nation,
all right.
Hello,
we have not passed
How was it at the point of
So
parliament?
it means the fight against corruption.
All right, let's move on.
Parliament rules,
let's move
parliament
on.
ended, the life of that parliament ended, so all bills which were not taken through came to an end. So you need to send it back.
10 months
So the benefit...
What stops the executive from representing it to Parliament? Don't blame Parliament
And
here.
what stop MPs from calling it?
Okay, please, let's have
You
Kuku
can
go
call
on.
it.
It says to facilitate public access to information about
Unless the
activities of...
executive brings it, we can't work on it. So let them bring it if they're interested in it.
But when
Thank
you were
you.
staging
Thank
walkouts
you.
and those things,
Thank
how
you.
will they...
Bring
you were
it.
staging walkouts.
It will still be in
you
the
didn't
house.
sit in the
Okay.
walkout.
Has nothing to do with walkouts. Bring it.
Sorry. Kuku, move on.
And the effect was that activities of government, including budgetary allocations, revenue and expenditures, and thereby enhance accountability and transparency and increase trust in government. Listen to this part. It says, we further recommend the following. A review and strengthening of the public office holder access declaration regime. We haven't done.
Right.
I'm told this in the process. Always is in the process.
It's
but
still
not
a secret process.
Improvements in the parliamentary vetting process to make it more rigorous and effective as a tool of public accountability. Speedy elaboration and adoption of conflict of interest prevention regulations developed by SRAJ in collaboration with the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition.
Yeah, that is in the parliament.
That is in the process.
Yeah, it's in parliament.
It's in the process. This is October. It's not. It's an alarm.
Oh, it's
this
an
is
alarm.
October.
Okay. All right.
This is an October 2005. The point I'm making, you see that, put the partisanship aside. Look at us as a nation. Check the trajectory of our actions relative to the fight against corruption. I don't think we have displayed sufficient will to fight corruption. So it affects the previous government and it affects this government. And as we saw as a nation, it's a challenge that we ought to understand. Now, Bobby makes the point about why form committees when the state institutions are. It means he is pinpointing the lack of political will to the consistent formation of committees. And I think some of us have had problems with that committee. All we do, we form the committees, they spend money on their activities, and we don't get anywhere. I have no problem in principle.
Some of them actually end up not doing a good job. So you need another to do a better job.
We've done that. We've done that for ourselves. Okay? We formed committees that ended up nowhere. Look, the Vodafone Review Committee. Before the elections, there was a pledge that we would investigate it and then even cancel the agreement. The committee was put in place. What happened? They are going up with the same contract. Okay? So that there's a point in what he's saying. But truly, in principle, forming committee or commission sometimes becomes necessary. I don't see that and the institutions of state working as mutually exclusive. But he appears to have rooted the lack of political will in the consistent formation of committees to the neglect of institutions of state. That is a debatable issue, let's be honest. I have a problem if you make an absolute out of what Mr. Bagbin was saying relative to forming committees and allowing state institutions to work. No. But with JIDA, I think we all had a problem with it here. The way and manner it began, how it was crafted, where it went, through those means. We've all had problems with it. And you see, that messy approach, the way and manner it was handled, brought about a certain level of cynicism, which that process is still suffering. So I don't think it was well handled. If he's talking about a lack of finesse and professionalism in the handling of the JIDA thing, he has a case. There's no doubt about that. You know, there are many things. Unfortunately, I can see your time is running out. Right. But as for the question of access, I've dealt with it. I think that anybody who is serious in politics... But you say
the president's reply was not good enough?
No. It was avoidable.
There are those who are asking, can Bagbin continue to be in government?
At the pleasure of the president. He says he will not resign. I heard him say so, that he likes to fight from within.
No, but you see,
that's what he says.
Unlike some parties who would have by now dismiss these persons in the presence of a Roku Brobe. We have a story. Alban Bagbin is not resigning, but we are not sacking him. What is his name? Martin Amidu is still a member of the
NDC. A member of parliament on the ticket. So resigned because he was assaulted at a congress.
That is voluntary. Voluntary.
Kofi Asante.
I'm saying that voluntary.
Let's stop it. This thing cuts across the divide.
All parties. In your case,
let's elevate the discussion a bit.
We'll elevate it.
We'll continue operating in the gutter.
We'll elevate it when it is elevatable. The point is that
I see.
He likes operating in the gutter. Go ahead. You'll be there alone.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have run out of time, and I need to announce that you are the first to speak on it. You remember the David and King Solomon story. Joyce Bauer. I must indicate that she got an urgent invitation, and it was a very late one. The deputy transport minister, she's unable to come. We had announced that she was going to be to join the show, and that Wayo was supposed to sit in for her whilst she was coming. But unfortunately, she can't make it, and she tells us she can't make it. Thank you very much. You can also call Latida on 026 5650981 or 020-433-6444 for the best and the cheapest in African wear. My guests have been Mrs. Esla Owusu Ekufo. She's MP for Ablekuma West, the constituency, and she's a lawyer. George Wayo is a lawyer and a political analyst with the NDC. Abraham Amalba is a lawyer and also a lecturer. He's also with the NDC. Abdul Malik Kwekubako Jr. is editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. He's a regular panelist. I'm Samson Ladi Ayenini. I've been your host. The show has been produced by Sedem Ofori, assisted by Sami and Emmanuel, and Abubakar Yaya. Thank you very much. The news on Joy is up next.